Welcome to episode 6 of Retroactivity, where we are going to be talking about Mass Effect, and I am joined by two guests that have not yet been here before. So we're going to start with the one that actually looks like a person. Hello, Shadow Temple. How are you today?
Oh, you mean me? Sorry, I wasn't sure. Hi, yeah, I'm doing good. Hi, I'm Shadow Temple, big Mass Effect nerd, which I guess means that's why I'm here, and super pumped to talk about it endlessly and uselessly for hours.
It's going to be fantastic. For those of you that are not aware, Shadow Temple and I have kind of rated each other back and forth a little bit. I think it was actually Treble that introduced you. Or introduced me to you quite a long time ago. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Shadow would be great for an episode of the podcast. So I messaged Shadow and I'm like, hey, are you interested in like any of these things? And Shadow said Mass Effect. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were a fan of Mass Effect. Perfect.
Yeah. No, it was it's been a long ride for me in Mass Effect, and I am super excited about news that might come up in like a month, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. Plenty.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Oh, I gotta calm myself. So the other person we have floating up there with the very intricate anime VR avatar, we have Eyes. And you're thinking, is that the Eyes that likes to ban people for making Final Fantasy X things? Yes, it is. So say hello, Eyes. How are you?
Fuck you, Jacob.
It's not my fault that you really dislike my X00X alerts, okay? It's not my fault.
Except that you uploaded them.
I didn't make them, though.
To activate it.
But Jack made them. It's all on
so
Jack.
You're telling me to ban Jack.
I did not say that. I implied it. There is a difference. Yeah, so poor Jack. I think Jack's already in bed, so
Lucky.
Yeah, I know, right? So as I mentioned, we are talking about Mass Effect today. Mass Effect is a sci-fi series. Some of you may know what Mass Effect is. If you don't, well, you're going to be in for a very interesting, spoiler-filled couple of hours as we talk about the main 3+1 Mass Effect games. This is going to be something. Yeah. There's not a lot of controversy with the first two, but
none.
Yeah, because they're amazing. After that, though, we're going to get into some dicey area, which we will deal with when we get there. But first, I have to ask the traditional retroactivity question, and I'm going to start with you, Shadow. Which is your favorite Mass Effect game? You don't have to give a reason why, but
okay, all right. Mass Effect Monopoly is my favorite Mass Effect game. That's what we're talking about today, right? All the various like physical games that was made for Mass Effect, right? Wait.
Yeah. That's fine.
These are video games. Shit. Probably, I don't know, 2? There's a 2, right?
This is where we find out that
there's
Shadow...
a 2?
There is. There really is. This is where we find out that Shadow is actually just a really big fan of Monopoly, but didn't know that Mass Effect was a separate franchise. Just assumed they're all normal Monopolies.
Really cool sci-fi Monopoly, guys. I didn't know there's lore.
Well, if Mass Effect didn't have lore, it would be Knights of the Old Republic.
Dang, license.
I said it.
I mean, that's not wrong.
Yeah, well, don't worry. We'll get to that, too. But before we do, is 2 your real answer, Shadow?
2 is my real answer, yes.
That is a fair choice. And what about you, Eyes? What is your favorite Mass Effect game?
Well, the real answer is 2, but I was told to say my Mass Effect body pillow that has Garrus Vicarian plastered all over it.
Yes!
Because it is a thing that I have. And I wanted to show it on stream, but then I'd have to show my face, and I can't do that.
You got me beat on like the most personal Mass Effect merch, because like I got a few things here and there, but I do not have a body pillow. You got me beat on that one.
You should get on that. They're wonderful.
I really should.
Oh, Eyes, later you're gonna take a picture of it and put it in Discord, and I'll like slap that somewhere at like the end of the upload for this on YouTube. That way people can see what we're talking about.
Do you want the the spooning side where he's curled up on his side adorably, or
Aw.
do you want the side where he's on his casuals, like back in his non-armor?
How about both, and then we'll edit it together really awkwardly.
Okay.
It works good.
Can
So
we have Garrus spoon prone Garrus? Is the question.
Garrus x Garrus, let's go. I'm so ready for
I've
that.
seen and might have participated in writing fan fiction about this.
Garrus with
Vicarian
Garrus?
finding Garrus Vicarian? All right.
I'll take things I didn't know I needed for 400, please. So I will say that up until about a year and a half ago, Mass Effect 1 was my favorite, and I'll get into why, but I would say as of now, probably 2. It's close for me between 2 and 3, and I know 3 has awkward opinions, but if I had to pick one, I would say probably 2. So we've all picked the same one, so that's good. That
means there'll be no disagreements today, and everybody's going to come out of this very happy, right?
Yeah,
Sure, we'll go with that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you guys are gonna get mad at me when we get to 3.
I doubt it.
Challenge accepted. So, Mass Effect 1. Before we talk about Mass Effect 1, there's another game that isn't even a Mass Effect game that we have to talk about just a little bit, and that is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
You mean Mass Effect 0?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
That is accurate. It is basically Mass Effect 0, and that's why we're going to talk about it just a little bit. I'm not going to go into heavy details with it, no spoilers or anything like that, even though it is one of the most spoiled things on the internet. But that was BioWare's, like, it was their sci-fi game that they just kind of wanted to make. They had the ability to make a Star Wars game, and they went with it, and they ended up creating this formula that they would go on to perfect throughout the Mass Effect series. The reason that I bring this up is because Mass Effect would not exist as we know it without Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic did so much to create Mass Effect, and I think it's worth mentioning just to kind of give everybody an idea of where Mass Effect got its legacy, and how sometimes reusing concepts and assets and even voice actors. There's actually a lot of voice actors and actresses from Knights of the Old Republic that make appearances in the Mass Effect games. Caden from Mass Effect, well, he's in all of them. And Jack from Mass Effect 2.
He just keeps getting reincarnated. That's that poor Caden Alenko.
I killed you near the end of 1. Why are you here? Oh, that's something I'm gonna talk about later. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I get it. Yeah.
But yeah. So there went a cop car. Nice.
So what do you want to talk about with Coder? Because I mean, I fully agree with you. Like a lot of the stuff that started that became Mass Effect was definitely like the BioWare crew be like, really like the sci-fi stuff, but the Star Wars license is expensive. What can we do?
Right. And I feel like that's what they did. And I actually want to make a comparison to something, and that's actually GoldenEye 64. What they did with GoldenEye 64 to Perfect Dark. Because Perfect Dark is basically GoldenEye 64 2. It uses a lot of the same assets, a lot of the same concepts, where on harder difficulties you have more objectives that you have to complete in addition to the game being harder. A lot of people will say that Perfect Dark was a spiritual successor to GoldenEye. Effectively, Perfect Dark is what GoldenEye 64 2 would have been if they retained the license for the James Bond stuff. They didn't. So they made Perfect Dark. And that's what I think of whenever I think of Knights of the Old Republic and Mass Effect, is they pulled a Perfect Dark. They wanted to make another one because they loved it so much, and people loved it so much. They wanted to make another, but they didn't have the Star Wars license to make it. So they did their own thing. And I know a lot of Star Wars fans out there are probably going to give me shit for this, but I think Mass Effect is better than Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, dang.
Yep. I said it. But I think it's a product of the times, and that's kind of how I'm going to bleed into Mass Effect 1, is that for those of you that have played all the Mass Effect games, Mass Effect 1 is kind of clunky.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
No.
a little clunky. But it's clunky in the same way that Knights of the Old Republic is. It is
Certainly.
It has that movement clunk to it. It's got that that combat freeze while you have your ability wheels open. It's got that weird little clunk to it that slowly gets ironed out as we go through the series. So if you ever play Knights of the Old Republic and then you play Mass Effect, you're going to see a lot of similarities. Now, of course, like I mentioned, the first one that comes to my mind is the combat clunk and the dialogue wheel and how it ends up looking. I will say it has been a couple of years since I played Knights of the Old Republic. I've replayed Mass Effect 1 more recently than that. So there may be some things I've forgotten as far as similarities there, but yeah, there's a lot with Knights of the Old Republic. Is there anything that you guys can think of off the top of your heads that kind of flow there, so to speak?
I mean, a lot of that idea of like, you build up a team of crewmates that kind of join with you and like judge you on the decisions you make and the things like that, and the goody baddies sort of morality meter majig.
Mm-hmm.
All definitely plucked from Knights to bring over to Mass Effect, certainly. Yeah, no, definitely. I think they'll even admit it themselves, right? That like it is pretty much a spiritual successor, right?
I think I don't know if they've ever come out and said it, but I mean, come on. It can't not be. Like, come on. Out of curiosity, have either of you played Knights of the Old Republic?
Religiously.
Oh.
I played about half. I finally like I got through maybe like the first 3 or 4 worlds, and then I was like, "Yep, I got this." And then my file got corrupted, my save file, and I was like,
Oh.
"I don't feel like putting 20 hours in this again," and I never touched it again.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I played it for the very first time just a few years ago on stream. Just it ended up on my rotation, and I'll be the first to admit I used cheat codes to make the game a bit easier. Because some parts of that game were hope you're high enough level. Because if you're not, bye.
I definitely got rolled over by a Mandalorian or two on more than one occasion.
Oh,
It was
I have
like,
no doubt.
oh, I can I no, I can't hide. Can I hit? Nope. Guess I'm just going back to a previous save.
It's like they weren't quite aware of how to guide their players into the areas they're supposed to go to first in those games.
Yeah.
They figured that out a little better in Mass Effect, but it's clearly like, by the way, you can go wherever you want. Wherever you want. It's just that thing over there might murder you a whole bunch and, soft lock you in place and have fun.
Yeah, well, what's that? You deleted you overwrote your last save that it would have saved you from this? Oh, sorry about that. The new game button's over there.
Yeah, it has that old RPG feel to it where it could be brutally hard and just not tell you it was going to be brutally hard. You just had to find that out for yourself. And what I find so interesting about that is I feel like Knights of the Old Republic is one of those games that kind of bridged the old style with the new style, which is strange.
I mean, it was also, one of those first instances of a shooty shoot mixing with an RPG.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there were going to be some pretty clunky bits about trying to make that work. Still, honestly, all the way through the series sometimes. But it was definitely bold choice for them to try to kind of make all that work.
Yeah, I agree. And I know this is going to sound really dumb, but when I was playing Knights of the Old Republic, when I got to the planet where you can like build your own lightsaber and whatever, the moment I equipped dual lightsabers and found that you could push the X button on your keyboard to put your lightsabers away, and then push the button again to like flip them out, I just sat there for a solid 10 minutes just pushing that button. It was the most satisfying thing. Oh man, I just love lightsabers. I can't help it. My chat will be the first to tell you guys that I may or may not have purchased a custom lightsaber that glows rainbow, and it ooh-woos whenever you turn it on. I definitely did not do that. Don't listen to my chat.
What?
Nope. There's no proof. There is no proof that I have a rainbow lightsaber that ooh-woos.
None proof,
nope.
huh?
Nope. No
Except
proof.
that you just told on yourself.
Okay, look, it was a business expense, so I got away with it. Okay, chat let me okay with it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway.
You got to show it at least once on stream, and then it's straight to QuickBooks.
Yeah. It's like you know.
It's almost like I've done it. What? Nothing. Nothing.
Well, there's a podcast idea. Taxes. Do taxes. The
Duh.
podcast. Wouldn't that be fun?
What have you expensed while streaming?
My dignity.
Somewhere there's an IRS guy going, aha, got him.
And he just knocks on the door and he's like, hey, guess what? And I'm like, what? These nuts got him. And then he just runs away. That would be not only terrifying, but also amazing that an IRS guy would do that, because as everyone knows, everyone in the IRS has no sense of humor. At least that's what I've been told for a long time. Except for that one guy. I know this is way off topic, but Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? Like Regis Philbin, like late 90s, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. There was a dude that went on there, and he worked for the IRS. I'm pretty sure he was the first guy to ever win the million. And when he got to the $1 million question, he hadn't used any of his lifelines, and he used his phone a friend lifeline. And you know, it was his dad, and his dad came on, and the dude goes, "I don't really need your help. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to win the $1 million." And ever since then, anytime somebody mentions people from the IRS, he's the guy I think of, and just the balls on that guy is next level.
Because you know, if he was wrong, that would have been like he would have gone down in history as the biggest douche, like
Right?
the largest, most terrifying of douche.
Oh my God. That
Debates
IRS
himself.
confidence. Yeah, there we go. That's the word that exists. That IRS confidence, just swagging in there. Yeah, I'm gonna win. Loses and walks away.
Sorry, the answer is B.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, so good. So good. So, Mass Effect. That's what we were talking about. I got distracted by the thought of lightsabers.
Not Regis Philbin's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire from the late 1990s.
Oh, can we mod in Regis Philbin to take the place of, I don't know, like Caden or somebody, please? I need that.
That would be hotter.
How about Regis Philbin for the Elusive Man?
Oh my
He could have
God,
done it.
no.
He could have done it.
Amazing.
He could have
Oh
done
my
it. Just
God.
saying.
I
need
can't.
this. And like every time you talk to him, right? Like he just like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, like asks you a multiple choice question, and that's what your dialogue wheel is, A, B, C, and D. I'm thinking
He's
too much
way
about this.
too nice, though.
Yeah.
That's why it would be even spookier, right? Because then like you'd be like, oh yeah, this Elusive Man, he seems pretty charming fella. Oh wait,
Oh.
aw,
Oh no.
he just wanted to help humans.
Be better than everybody else. Wow, Regis. Wow. Can't call him Tim anymore. His name is Regis. That's like my personal headcanon now. Every time I play Mass Effect, he's just going to be Regis Philbin for me. Somebody get
There
to
you
work
go.
on that as a mod, please.
There's got to be enough sound bites.
He's on Regis he's going off a tangent once again. Regis Philbin, one of the most prolific or on the air personalities of all time. So there's got to be enough audio of him
Hope so.
pieced together. Trying to say like Geth and stuff is going to be a little tough, but you know, just shove words together.
It's
God.
fine.
Only imagine how terrifying that would sound. I think chat's having fun over there while we're just going off on tangents about Regis Philbin. I'm going to be honest with you, Regis Philbin is not who I thought I'd be talking about when we went to talk about Mass Effect, but here we are. It is permanently.
I make it my goal in every show that I do for off of my own channel that Regis Philbin's brought up at least once. So
Perfection.
check.
Achievement unlocked.
Okay, crossing that off the checklist pretty early. Haven't even gotten into Mass Effect 1 yet. We're still in like Mass Effect 0 territory. Speaking of Mass Effect 0 territory, so Knights of the Old Republic, building your team, right? Like in Mass Effect 1, that was just kind of a thing that happened. Your team just kind of assembled around you, so to speak.
Yeah, that's true.
But Mass Effect 2, when we get there, I feel like it did it the best compared to 1 and 3. And
Based on our answers for best of the series, I'm guessing we're not going to disagree too much.
I mean, that's the basis of the whole game, it seems, honestly.
Yeah. And when you create a dynamic for your game, like immediately that is like, hey, build a team, you better make sure that building that team is rewarding and satisfying. And I feel like they did it right. But we'll get there. So Paragon and Renegade is one of the core things throughout the Mass Effect series. It is the morality system that was borrowed from Knights of the Old Republic, where you
Man,
could
was
do
that like a mid 2000s thing, huh? Like
right.
the real like two sides of the coin. You either like the goody is two shoes or the goody two shoe galaxy, or you are a dick.
And you were like, it was almost like you were, I don't want to say punished, but looked down upon if you took like the neutral route.
Oh yeah, no centrist in Mass Effect. No.
Too bad. I do it anyway.
Yeah,
And then it's just sad.
yeah. It's interesting that they didn't really have to make two games, so to speak, but the differences in a Renegade playthrough versus a Paragon playthrough, it shows an attention to detail that I don't think I'll ever forget. Because there's so many little things that happen on a Paragon playthrough that you'll never see on a Renegade, and vice versa. There's it's Mass Effect 3. There's a little side quest you can do where there's one of those what are they called? Where they talk about the Enkindlers all the time. They're floating jellyfish things. Hanar. So
stupid glowing jellyfish.
Yeah, you big stupid jellyfish. It's just like the best line. And if you're doing a Paragon run through, you will never see that.
You'll never hear big stupid jellyfish. It's true.
It's incredible.
Unless you do a lot of side quests and manage to max out both.
True. Which is so strange from like a story perspective. Gameplay perspective, it makes perfect sense, but from a story standpoint, you being a Paragon like god and then like a Renegade master all at the same time is really bizarre to me.
You just you're just a shep of many hats, you know. Sometimes you'll be good cop, sometimes you can be really bad cop.
You just don't have to think about it as like a power or something. You just think of it as this is a person that's been through a lot of crap and has seen a lot of stuff, so they're gonna have a lot of reactions to different stuff, and just don't think about it too much.
And thinking of the opposite of that, a game like Infamous. I don't know if either of you have experience with Infamous.
That was exactly what I was thinking of that mid 2000s duality of morality thing. Yeah.
But now that in that one, I don't think you could like switch between good and bad. Like it was a monumental pain in the ass if you wanted to try to do that.
It was very difficult because the game ends essentially two different ways depending on which path you kind of took up to that point.
Right. Yeah. And I'm trying to think of which one was the canonical ending, but it eludes me. It's been a while since I played through that series.
I want to say it was the bad one.
That's what I was thinking too.
I'm pretty sure.
Man, that's nutty.
Never got to play it personally, but I've seen people play bits and pieces of it. So
it was a fun game. It was one of the earlier open world explore around, do things games, and it was good. It was really good. But I don't know. I felt like it fell off after Second Son, and I enjoyed Second Son a lot, especially because you had neon powers, and I mean, who doesn't want neon powers? But
yeah, again, like kind of that very like you could never possibly see the world in shades of gray. It must be all either you're good or you're evil,
right?
And admittedly, with Mass Effect, it was a little bit more like Dirty Harry versus like by the books Mr. Man or Miss Lady, but yeah, no, that was still kind of that era, right? Because there was there's Infamous, there was Mass Effect, there was Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh, I forgot about
in that world of you could either be the good boy or you could be the bad boy, but you got to choose one.
Yeah, and Fallout did that, right?
3 especially, yeah.
Yeah,
give bottles of water to a homeless person. You can go overlook any atrocity,
right? You murdered an entire town with a nuke. Yeah, but I gave that homeless dude like 100 bottles of clean water.
I gave him a lot of clean water.
I guess it's
in the Fable series, all of those
Fable,
things.
yeah. It was a product of the time, and I feel like some games did it better than others. And I feel like one of the ones that did it in the most memorable way was Mass Effect.
Truly.
Now, as far as like what Paragon and Renegade did for you in each game, that does vary, but I do feel like the system itself was good. Now, this is kind of an overarching thing, but in the first game, your Paragon stuff was just extra dialogue options, or your Renegade stuff is just extra dialogue options. They'd be grayed out if you didn't have enough points, but if you did, it would be the respective color, blue for Paragon or red for Renegade. But in later games, you would just get these almost quick time events that were like interrupts, and
Heck yeah.
and to me, they were hit and miss. Sometimes they felt good, and sometimes it was like, I'm gonna sit my controller down to watch this cutscene and take a drink of something. Oops, I missed it, and it felt really bad.
I always appreciated those because they really kind of built into that sort of like good or bad, or like lawful or chaotic sort of
Yeah.
like impulses, which were kind of fun. Of like, oh, this guy's talking shit. Yep, gonna shoot a gas tank next to him and blow him up. Or like, I'm gonna give this person a hug because it looks like they're having a bad time. But should I do it? Should I do it, or should I leave them alone? It's nice.
I got addicted to kicking people off of buildings.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a
good.
lot of taking shots and kicking people off of things.
That was Mass Effect 2, I believe. You kick that. Can't remember if it's a dude or a robot, but you kick him right off the top of that building.
It's definitely a Solarian.
Oh, okay. It's been a hot minute. Normally I go Paragon because I'm a loser.
Is that one where you're like trying to stop an assassination or something, and you're like climbing that tower?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one. And then they just look at you like, oh my god. And Shepard's just like, you watched me do a billion other worse things, and this is the thing? This is the thing that you're bothered by? Really?
You're upset about this?
He was gonna kill us. You see him? He had a gun. I had to kick him off the building.
I let a psychopath murder in and pretend to be a good person on my team, and you thought this was bad?
Oh, that was. Ooh, oh, we're gonna get to that because
we'll get that.
That's how I want to go out. So
what?
I mean, what?
Oh.
Oh, don't worry, we'll get there.
You concern me, Jacob.
I concern a lot of people. It's a
the
talent.
Marinthian Gambit.
Oh my god, Gyarados.
It's a choice.
No.
Have you ever been so high that you think you're a biotic god?
That is probably one of my favorite parts of the games, period.
Oh, it's
just the humor within it all.
It's just I don't know, it's like a super dark situation, and all of a sudden you have this poor Volus stuck in the middle of it, and it's like, I feel bad for you, but you're adorable, and I'm gonna encourage you in the things that you want to do. Have at it.
You be a biotic god. You do what makes you happy, please.
The poor Volus just consistently, by the way, like the kind of butt of jokes, right?
I know.
They never really get a chance to be too serious in the series, huh?
Yeah. But it's like they're always fun when they're there, though. It's just nobody in the universe cares about them.
True.
But they're also dicks sometimes, so.
Really hoping one of these days, if they ever pick up the series again, we get either an Elcor or a Volus as a companion or teammate in the game.
A Volus is just a dick all the time.
At least you did get to play. It was Mass Effect 3, right? In multiplayer, you could play as a Volus.
That's correct.
Yep.
So at least got that far, and I hope they keep digging into it further eventually. Yeah, but that was fun.
I just love the idea of the super sardonic, no emotion Elcor commenting on intense situations from behind Shepard or whoever the heck the main character.
Extreme terror, enemies to our rear. That'd be amazing.
Could you imagine that as a romance option?
Stop me, you elephantine monster!
Oh my god!
Crush me between your hooves, you monotone bastard!
Oh dear lord!
Oh, that's once again. I'll take things I didn't know I needed for 400, please. Oh, what a day this has become. So, speaking of party members and companions. So Mass Effect 1, of course, you play as Shepard, and you can create Shepard's backstory, male or female, and you could choose between, like, 3 different backstories of whether you grew up on Earth in the streets and that kind of stuff, or you grew up on a colony. I always took the Earth option, because I'm a loser. But you kind of create your own character. It's not super detailed character creation, and I personally always went with the default look of Shepard. I don't know, it just kind of
Really?
seemed right for me, so I never like really changed his looks ever.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely one of those people that takes like half an hour to make a new character every time. It doesn't matter if I'm playing for myself, for stream, whatever. I have to sit on that character creator screen for ages, and then I'll play it, and then I'll realize that I didn't look at the face at an angle, and then I have to go back and do it again.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I can relate to that. I can relate to that. I'll spend like 3 hours making a new shepherd and think, today, this will be the time I make an attractive male shepherd. This is it. And then I realize I hate it and go back to playing FemShep.
Mhm.
I think I played FemShep once in Mass Effect 3, but typically I went male shep just because mostly in RPGs like that I would just take whatever the default would be and just like, oh, I guess that's the character they want me to be, and I would just run with it. I'm not super creative in the design stuff, so I never really tried to like make my own character, so to speak.
There's also nothing wrong with self-insert and stuff like that, right? Like just building something that you can feel like you can connect to pretty personally.
Right,
Well,
right.
that's also kind of the point of Mass Effect too. So
True.
Very true. Because you're making the decisions, you're effectively telling Shepard what to say, you know? But it's also
That's
cool
a
to.
different way to. I just had an image in my head of you were actually not playing as Shepard in the Mass Effect series. You're instead whispering in their ear the entire time. Hey, Shepard.
oh my
Hey.
god.
Hey, kill Rex. Kill him. Kill him right now. Do it. Do it.
Oh no. So like there's like a hidden scene in Mass Effect 1 that only happens if you have cleared save data from all 3 games. And when you boot up the game, it has Harbinger, the thing from Harbinger. It's just like assuming direct control, but it's on Shepard and it's you.
It just connects him, and that's the rest of the game is completely the same, but it starts with that.
Oh god, the fandom would lose their minds. Oh, that would be incredible.
Not wrecked.
You poor Rex.
Not Rex.
Oh, don't worry, we're gonna get to that. So speaking of Rex, we'll start with Rex. So as I mentioned, there are multiple characters that you can recruit. Some of them are optional. Some of them are definitely not optional. One
Yeah,
of
I
the
was
ones
trying
that
to
is
remember
optional. Okay.
So is Rex and Garrus, right? Are the 2 optional ones?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I was trying to think about it because I was
Yeah.
like, Tali, I think is like story required.
Yep.
And so is Liara, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
you have
sure.
to go rescue her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Garrus and Rex, they sit off to the side. I've actually met people who never had Garrus in their playthrough, and I was like,
Heathen.
what?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
Heathens.
Yeah, it's funny. Whenever you start up Mass Effect 1, you're on this new ship, the Normandy, which is a fantastically designed ship. And you have that mission at Eden Prime, which kind of sets up the game. A little bit of a tutorial, shows you the bad guy, and kind of sets the precedent for the game. But then after that, the first place you go is the Citadel, which is a massive hub where there's a bunch of side quests, there's a bunch of characters, and it just kind of gives you the Citadel, and it's like, have fun. And there's an achievement or trophy if you play on the inferior consoles that is to complete the majority of the missions in the game. And I seem to remember when I went for that achievement, I just went around the Citadel and did missions, and I got that achievement, which I believe is to clear 90% of the missions. I managed to get that before I rescued Liara.
Sure.
Yeah.
And rescuing Liara can be one of the first missions that you do.
We also spend like 5 hours at the beginning of the game in the Citadel, like bouncing around, trying to find those keepers.
Oh, that quest makes me so mad because I can never find them all, ever.
Please do not disturb the keepers.
Pokes repetitively.
And then
Please
they're
do not
actually
disturb
important.
The keepers.
It baffles me that they made those irritating little things important.
Hey, you remember them, didn't you?
That's true. That is true. And I remember not to disturb them.
I just always imagine that if you continue disturbing them, that whoever is doing the voice for the electronic thing will like pop out of a wall and just shoot Shepard.
Avita just reaches
Wanted-
an arm out of the wall and then just grabs your neck and pulls you in.
Critical mission
Bum,
failure.
bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
That was always a terrifying way to die to me. Not getting pulled into a wall, but the critical. I mean, it would. But the critical mission failure thing, where it pops up and it just has that droning note that just keeps hitting, and the camera spins with like, I don't know,
Good old Saren theme.
Yeah. Oh, Mass Effect has some good music too, but.
Yes.
No, we absolutely, like that is actually what drew me in initially, and why I loved Mass Effect as so much as I did at the beginning, because like, you know, you play a lot of RPGs where you like come in and get to the starting screen and all that, and it's like this bombastic, like full orchestra, like, you are here and we are playing a game, and like this, you know, sweeping violins and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, this is gonna be an epic. But instead, Mass Effect, it starts off with a picture of Earth and just this quiet synth in the background, and I get goosebumps literally every time I hear it, and every time I see that intro screen. And I'll admit, as much as I love Mass Effect 2, they betray that feeling, because they do go to exactly what I'm talking about in Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But
can I get you to like narrate that so I can play that every time an opening cutscene happens? Just
welcome to video game. But no, that's what I knew. That's what I knew, that it was going to be a different game. You know, it was going to be something special. Was that like, oh, it's just we're going to space and we're going to explore and we're going to find new things and it's going to be great. And that's where I bought in.
And
don't lie, we're here to fuck aliens.
But there was that too. I'll admit, I was a little intrigued when I saw the sex box, like titles everywhere on the internet and TV and such. But after having already purchased the game, that's where I was like, okay, this is gonna be something coming in here.
Yep. Oh,
anyway. Rex, right? We were talking Rex. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Rex. So I feel like there are 6 total characters that you can get in your party in Mass Effect 1. Tali, Liara, Rex, Garrus, Caden, and Ashley. And
for a while.
Yeah, till Vermeer happens. So I feel like each character is so unique, except for Caden and Ashley, that's what makes them so memorable. And in the case of Caden and Ashley, they're the same person. So near the end of the game, it's like, all right, we know this is the same person, so just kill one.
The Normandy's just a little too heavy. We gotta lose some cargo. What you got?
Oh, I can't wait to give my story on that.
Both option.
Oh, but then we missed the coolest scene from Mass Effect 3.
That's true. But still, both.
Oh.
Yeah.
But then we could replace them with really nice people that don't creep me out.
Like Jacob. Jacob's nice.
You know how weird it is hearing that said like that? Knowing that you're talking about the cool Jacob and not me.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
that threw me for a loop when I played Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, you threw me up there.
Wow, everybody forgot, huh?
No, I can't let myself think about that character because it's another instance in which BioWare is cucking me.
Oh no.
Oh. He's fine. He's fine.
He was
They take it. They hold him in front of you, and they're like, "Look, this is a character that you can have as your companion throughout the story." And then they take him away, and then you get to watch him go be happy with someone else.
Oh, that's right, Mass Effect 3, because I've just always been bros with him all my life, and then I forgot that. Yeah, you could. Oh, yeah. Huh.
Yes, that's the thing.
That is a whole thing, ain't it? Well, I can at least level with you on that. This is not Mass Effect, but Aveline from Dragon Age 2 to this day.
I'm
so sad.
You guys have lost me on Dragon Age.
No. Actually, worse.
Varric 2, certainly. But at least I get that from the perspective, like, Varric's his own man. He does what he does.
He is the best BioWare character. No one can change my mind. It's not possible.
But just to kind of draw a quick parallel, like Eveline's got a kind of a similar sort of I would say a similar flair to Jacob, and like just this strong character who stands by what they believe in, real just kind of go-to, real reliable character. And I was like, especially at that point in my life when I was playing, I was like, I need this anchor in my life, please, 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 BioWare, let me hang out with her more. And then you do these side quests where you're trying to help her hit on a guy who's completely oblivious because she's terrible at hitting on people.
I
And it's
know
like,
that was the cringest thing ever. And
oh,
you
it's
can flirt with her.
adorable.
You
You
can
can flirt with her
with
during
her.
the whole that whole mission, and that's weird.
It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do this? You're like, you're rubbing it in the player's face that, yes, look, this is the awesome character. No, you can't have it.
Mass Effect
Oh.
learned that lesson over time. They're like, you know what? You can have everyone. You can, at least in one game or another, you can have everyone.
No, you can't.
Wait, who?
Because they cock block you in 3 with
Ah.
James.
Oh.
Really? Wait,
Yes.
James Vega?
Yep.
Freddie
You
Prinze
cannot
Jr.?
romance. He gets
Freddie Prinze
really.
Jr., yeah.
You can have a romance scene with him in Citadel, but then he gets really weird and they make it really rapey and gross. So it's not worth doing.
Okay.
He like he regrets it after, and he's just like, I looked up to you and now I can't look at you anymore. Is basically what
Vega.
happens.
Vega, no.
That's pretty rough. I will admit, I never really used him,
No.
unfortunately.
And it's
I-
unfortunate. He's great.
I mostly had just eyes for Garrus, so I never had the chance because I do love Vega though. Oh,
Garrus is he more than makes up for everything else, but it's like, why would you let somebody? I just that squicked me out. It's turned me off of Vega entirely because of that whole we're gonna make Shepard into a creepy old lady who creeps on young guys
Ugh.
scene.
I guess he is pretty young, huh?
Not really.
Vega?
You not?
I mean, he's an adult. Who
He's an
cares?
adult. It's true.
He's in the N program. That means he's got to be somewhat older, maybe like
That's true.
mid-20s. Shepard ain't that old.
I'm trying to remember if it says his age somewhere, but
No.
I cannot remember.
But he's an N7, which means that he's been in service for a while. So I
Yeah.
would say probably a little younger than Andromeda 3's dad.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Andromeda's dad. Why did I add a 3? I don't know. I'm just Mass Effect words.
Yeah,
Andromeda 3.
Listen.
In an alternate galaxy far, far away.
Well, she wasn't in First Contact, so she wouldn't be that old.
True.
So maybe like late 30s at the most by the end of the game, I would think.
And then, well, I mean, trying to figure out Shepard's age would be an absolute nightmare anyway because of what happens at the beginning of 2.
Yep.
Is he 2 years older or 2 years younger? Because technically,
Is
One.
Shepard 1 year old? That's
I
the
like it.
question, ain't it?
Oh no!
We also don't really know how long the games take.
Oh, I didn't think of that. No.
Oh, they actually literally have the number. Never mind. According to Tractor Lover, 2154. The game starts
Oh
in
my God,
2183.
so-
There you go.
What the
Wow.
hell, Vega? She's not that much older than you then.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, actually, hang
What?
on. You can't romance Edie, can you?
No, you can't.
No, I
Or
mean,
Joker.
Or
So-
Rex.
yeah,
Speaking of Rex,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't,
Rex.
you can't
yeah.
romance Rex.
Yeah, Rex is great.
That would be a
Rex is one of my
great
favorite
romance.
characters. I
Mine
love
too.
Rex.
He is my favorite, period.
Yeah.
Crush
Like-
me, you lizard, you large lizard.
Oh, Rex is great. So yeah, actually, so speaking of Rex, Rex is a bounty hunter. A lot of you, I dropped my pen. A lot of you know this. Rex is a bounty hunter, and he's like, wow, you're a badass. I'm gonna hang out with you.
Well, and one thing they did really well, and also kind of, I guess, tokened all the races in Mass Effect, was that they gave you pretty much one of all the major ones
Mhm.
to start pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so, like, everyone had like a pretty good representation of what's going on with each of these races, and Rex just happens to be the most connected to that particular story than anybody else.
Which is interesting because the Krogans, they were kind of outcasts. Most of them were bounty hunters. There's a lot of back lore and stuff that would take hours upon hours to explain, but most Krogans are just bounty hunters. They just kind of go off and do their own thing. So there's not really like a group.
genophage.
Yeah, because of the genophage. So they all kind of just go off, do their own thing, make their own. Well, I wouldn't even say they really make groups, but there's not really like an embassy to control them like there is for like the humans and the Solarians and the Asari and stuff like that. They're just kind of off on their own, and I feel like Rex was the perfect way to put one in your party in a semi-natural way.
Yep, he's probably easily my favorite companion because of the fact that he's not essential. He's super snarky and gonna give it to you differently than the other characters are because he's seen the hi. Everybody hates my existence because I'm a Krogan. No one trusts me. They think I'm going to turn into a horrible rage monster and kill them, which is likely true. But he's going to just, his whole dialogue is just so different from the others because of that. And I like it.
Yeah. And he's just so much more guarded than the rest of the crew who's like, yeah, let me tell you about my home life and, you know, everything else going. And he's like, I'm just here to get things done. I don't care.
Shepard.
Rex.
Shepard.
I love it.
Please tell me you guys got the endless loop in the Citadel DLC
Oh,
if you played it.
course.
I love it.
Shepard. Rex.
Grunt.
Shepard. Shepard. Grunt. Rex.
It's funny how some of those things just stick. Like,
Then stop. I hear that.
it's like
Mass Effect 3 was a lot of fan service, and I was that exact fan that wanted it. I didn't care.
I
I knew
loved
it
it
was
so
I knew it was
much.
cheesy and goofy as fuck, but I didn't care. I wanted more.
yeah.
And it's so they kept them all in so much, like they're in character, but they're still, I don't know, fan fiction-y at the same
Right.
time
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the best of ways.
Yeah.
So for those that are aware to that idea, you know, so Rex would be hanging out in like your weapons area on the Normandy, and whenever you know you go up to him, talk to him for a bit, whatever, and then when you were done, he would just go, Shepard,
Rex.
like Rex, and that was it.
Yeah. You just walk away. Conversation's over. And it was
I love that
fantastic.
meme.
It was fantastic. It was like that's all that needed to be said.
Yeah,
So good.
but
This
I
makes
mean,
me want
like,
to play him again.
yeah, same. I mean, again, maybe next month.
I know.
All right, let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. So
Let's do that right now. Let's make this
Let's do
happen.
it. Let's just talk about it. So
There are
ahead.
major rumors that possibly late October, maybe November, depending on, you know, how release schedules, that the original Mass Effect trilogy is going to be re-released, remastered, redefined, revengeanced into a new trio of or a new trio pack that you can pick up and play and have a great time with. And I am so very excited about that because I have convinced through various charitable means to have my significant other, Marissa, play through the series blind on my stream as a result.
yes.
And I
Yes.
am so excited that I'm going to be very wanting to play the game next to her as I get to see it remastered for the first time. But I'm very excited that it's going to be a whole new generation of Mass Effect nerds.
Right?
That's a good idea. Oh my gosh, Finn's never gotten to play it.
Finn! You know what you must do. Oh god, you just be sitting there vibrating the whole time, like, ooh,
Yeah.
Mass Effect!
And that's what's going to be
That's-
great.
A super accurate depiction, actually.
I'll just play through the games like for the millionth time because it's good. But yeah, I'll be real. I have played Mass Effect, the entire trilogy, on 360, which was what I started on, and then I've played it on PS3, and I've also played it on Xbox One because of the backwards compatible shenanigans, just because I wanted to play them. I've never played it on PC ever, and I really want to.
It's nice.
Because the layout looks a lot different, and I feel like it's more built for PC, but at the same time, I'm not used to that kind of control, so I feel like it's gonna mess me up really bad.
The
But
first one's kind of crunchy on PC, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
yeah,
The second and third one are pretty easy, but that first one is yeah. It's okay.
Mm.
Driving space buggy
Oh
Space
god,
Oh,
Bug and
Mako.
Mako. The Mako is a little bit of a game on PC.
You know how
But
everybody
I
makes
mean, that's the point.
yeah.
Totally. I love it.
You know how everybody makes the jokes about trying to like jump up a mountain in Oblivion or whatever?
Oh no, they
Mass
have no
Effect
idea.
and the Mako. That trying to drive up a mountain. Oh, hours just slowly creeping up a mountain when you could have just driven around. No, I'm gonna conquer this mountain, and then you accidentally thrust just a little too hard. It throws you
Yup.
off the mountain.
Or you do any
Oh.
thrusting at all. You're like, I'm just gonna jump to the right. Thrusting off the mountain. All right. Well, guess I'm going back
Low.
down.
Yep.
Low gravity. Wee.
So with Rex being an amazing character, we're gonna talk about two characters that I personally couldn't give less of a shit about, and that's Caden and Ashley. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna let you guys talk about it because guess who forgot to pee before this started and is now having a full bladder. I will be right back.
Okay, yeah. So it's an interesting because I'm realizing that a lot of the people in chat have no idea what we're talking about. So I feel like giving just a little bit of background on each thing before we get into it would be
Probably
probably good. So you know, Mass Effect, you have this big old crew of various people. A lot of them are aliens, but in every Mass Effect game, you get at least one or two non-aliens, just straight up old human beings. And in the original Mass Effect, you get two. A dude by the name of Caden Alenko, biotic extraordinary headache and air, and Ashley. I want to say Ashley Jenkins, and that's absolutely wrong. It's
No.
Ash Williams.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep, Ash Williams. Ashley Jenkins is a voice actress.
Right.
Ash Williams, who is, I believe, just kind of broadly declared to be the space racist.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. At
Yeah.
least in the beginning. She does develop a lot later, but definitely a racist in the beginning.
And he, actually, the reason I'll ask you real straight up. There, spoilers for Mass Effect. There's a situation where you have to decide which one lives and dies. Which one do you typically pick?
I alternate because honestly, I just don't really care all that much. I never have anything to do with them beyond the conversations, but Ash in 3 is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, her armor gets changed, her look gets changed, she's less of a jerk. It's just, she's a better character overall. She actually acts like she's part of the team. But
I always appreciated how much she grows, just even in the original game, like as is, like how much she progresses over that time. I think a lot of people like got turned away the first time you talk to her because she's like, I don't know about them aliens. And it's like,
Yep.
well, I'm not sure about you, Ash. And then you never talk to her again. But she really kind of grows over time and like, oh, I guess I just haven't really worked with aliens other than them invading and my dad being upset about it.
yeah, pretty much. And you can even see her starting to interact with the other characters more, and even through like the elevator scene, she starts getting concerned about Garrus and Rex and other parts of the team, and that's great. I like that.
Totally. Yeah. And meanwhile, I gotta say, although I think he's fine. I've never really bought into Caden all that much. Like I find it interesting in that he's like he's an insert into like, hey, why do humans have these space powers? Huh? What's going on there? And he explains that pretty well. But
Yeah.
beyond that, I'm just not very excited.
He gets better later. I think 2 is whenever he really starts to get interesting. In 1, he's kind of like the token. We needed to have a female romance option in this game, and Caden,
Yeah.
I guess that's you.
Go,
Yeah.
Caden, go.
Yeah.
But in 2, he actually starts to show more development as a character. He has problems with your choices. He vocalizes them very strongly because he's kind of a douche in 2. It's just,
I hate the way both he and Ashley do that in Mass Effect 2.
at
Because
the
they're
same time, though, that's the point, though.
It's
right?
so frustrating though because they're like, "Oh, you're with Cerberus." It's like they brought me back to life. What do you want? They brought me back to life, and I'm trying to get my crew back together so I have people I trust because I don't trust Cerberus. But you're with Cerberus. I just said I don't trust him. But you're with Cerberus. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, but can you really blame them? Especially since if you go off the idea of being military, they likely know more information about Cerberus than most people at this point, especially since Cerberus is more active in that time. Add to that,
Yeah.
how do
Also-
they know that's really you?
Yeah, oh, yeah, it's true.
That's actually fair. Yeah.
I'm totally Shepard, and your face just like ticks up unnaturally, just like one of your eyes rolls back into your head and comes back out. Trust me.
And of course, you have the red scars everywhere. So if you're Renegade, and they're like really pronounced, I wouldn't think that was Shepard because his insides are glowing through his face, which is terrifying.
Boy, yeah, when you really go out on that, you become you become a monster, an actual monster by the end of that.
Yeah. Which I thought was a neat concept. I never had to deal with it because I always play Paragon because I'm goody two shoes. But it was a really interesting concept to me to make your character's appearance represent that, kind of like Fable did with the like the angel wings and the demon wings, which is fascinating.
Yet another tie over from KOTOR.
I don't remember. I know I went like the Paragon option in Knights of the Old Republic, but I don't remember what it did exactly.
You get shiny.
You just become someone comes with an oil bottle over time and just like oils you up a little bit more each time.
Oh God.
You've been a good boy. Here, just a little oil.
Oh my God.
It's like when you do something bad, someone comes with a spray bottle and squirts you. But when you do something good, someone squirts you with oil instead. That's how you know you've been good.
Monka.
But yeah.
Moisturize me. Oh my God, no.
Oh no. I love
Moisturize me, Exo Presley.
But now you don't like humans, so I don't like you because I'm a space racist like Ashley.
That's true. I forgot. I always just remember Presley because he's every time you leave the ship directly, it's like Exo Presley is now like
has
Exo
the
Presley
deck.
now has the deck.
Yeah.
He gets better too.
Yeah, he does, and then he dies.
Right? Yeah, right up until the death message in Mass Effect 2. He's like, oh, these aliens are all right, you read in his final words of death.
Yeah. That's a redemption arc if I've ever seen one. Oh God. That was the ballsiest way I've ever seen a game start. Ever.
Yeah.
You start Mass Effect 2 and it's like, wow, shit's going down, but we're okay. We've got plot armor. No, you don't.
You're dead now.
You're dead. It's like, what?
It's like the best idea at the same time, though, because I kind of imagine that meeting room being like, so how can we make an excuse for them to start back at nothing and build their levels and all that other stuff? Let's just kill them.
Yeah.
Also, like, yeah, I'm sure like EA was like, all right, now I get that this says a 2 on it, and like you're doing this whole thing where like people can pass in their information from the first game and the second game to like continue stuff, but we also need like people to buy this game and not play your nerd space game from the first one. What are you gonna do about that? What are you gonna do with this old Shepard they have, huh? Well, I guess we could kill him.
And then everybody else at the table just is like, what? EA's like, perfect. Make it work.
Great. All right.
Make it work, but it has to work within this time frame. Have fun.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, like for real, it absolutely floored me. I was not ready for that at all. That was and that's a terrifying way to die, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Being orbited in over a planet in space. Yeah. No, it would not be cool.
And then it like shows like all the dead cells as they like try to revive them and everything. And just,
I think honestly that's been the most effective opening of any of the games. It like
I'd agree. Yeah, it's funny because I know this is completely unrelated to Mass Effect, but when I was a little kid, back in 2000, 2001, so I would have been like 7 or 8, there was this movie that came out called Mission to Mars. And and I watched it as a kid, and there's this scene where they're like stuck, and this dude like has like a grapple hook in space, and he hooks it to a little satellite so they can all like make it down to the surface of Mars and not die. But he overshoots a little bit, so he falls off of it, and he's floating away toward Mars. And his wife is one of the astronauts, and she's like, "I'm gonna come get you." And he's like, "You don't have enough fuel." And she's like, "I don't care, I'm coming to get you." He's like, "Well, can't let you do that." And he just takes his helmet off.
Yeah.
And that scarred me for years. And then that came along, and I'm like, oh, that movie exists. I forgot about that. Oh no, I hate it. Thanks. Oh.
Insides become the outsides.
Yeah, he like turned to stone, and just, it terrified me. And then Ben made it an emote in the server over on Discord, and I'm like, wow, Ben, thanks. Just.
But yeah, thinking back to like how each Mass Effect starts, like two's probably the most like breathless, right? Like
Yeah.
you are just, oh, they did that. Okay. Uh fuck.
Yeah.
Cuz like Mass Effect 1, what you look into, or Shepard's looking into a window while people talk shit about him.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
In Mass Effect 3 you're on trial, which is also interesting in its own
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But two's got that big win, I feel like, on that regard. For sure.
Yeah. And even for like people new to the series that had no context for who Shepard was, what a way to start the game, even if you don't know the characters.
Yeah, you don't have to care about like who the person in that helmet is running around. They just have to know that things are bad right now. Everybody's really upset about it, and you die.
Yeah.
So there.
Not only die, but specifically die to save your crewmates.
Yeah. It was something. And you control Shepard up to that point. So you're already like, all right, I'm gonna be the one to save all these people, and then you die. And
the scene in the middle with the map, how many of you spent too much time trying to push all of the chairs into space?
I definitely did that once or twice. Although most of the time, I'll admit, because yeah, so like the ship's blowing up because the collectors have come in and just to destroy it. And there's a large portion of it where you are walking in just space.
Yeah.
Like you are grabbed essentially to the ship, but everything else is just open space, and it just gets silent for a second.
Yeah.
You just hear Shepard's breath as you're like looking up at the Earth, and like it was what 2009, 2010, so like it wasn't graphically like mind blowing, but it was pretty dang cool to like see the planet like overhead as you're like trying to get over the other side of the ship, and it's like this is real bad, ain't it?
It was so cinematic in the
But
best way.
excuse me for a moment. I've got to make this recliner jettison into nowhere.
It is taking up space, and it needs to go into space.
We called the collectors to help us clean up the place. It's just they were a little too aggressive with the vacuum cleaner, if you know what I mean?
Two men in a truck sent their best.
Oh no. Jeez.
Oh no. But Mass Effect 1. All right, so characters that we get in Mass Effect 1. So I'm gonna assume you guys did great with Kate and Ashley. I didn't want to talk about them anyway, so a perfect time for me to go to the bathroom. So let's go ahead and talk about Liara. Liara was my original waifu. She was my favorite the first time I played. She was blue, and she was smart, which that meets all my standards. So that was it. I was like, yep, you're great. Perfect. End of story.
She has cute freckles.
Yeah.
She does have cute freckles.
Yeah.
And she's really shy in the first one.
Right, and then she is no longer shy after
well,
that.
I don't really blame her.
Because she has some interesting character development, but she's also like, hey, your mom's a bad guy. What are you gonna do about that? And she's just like, I'm not my mom, but I'll help. And I don't know. I will say I hate the mission where you go get her. Especially on Insanity.
I accidentally did it the first time. Like she was the one that I decided to go for first. And yeah, I did it on way too hard of a difficulty, and it beat the crap out of me. But I got very good at driving the Mako on that level.
Yeah, don't accidentally drive into the lava and have to start the entire planet over.
Not only 4 times.
Oof.
But it's so much fun having to run over the little Colossus things over and over and over
Oh,
again.
it's so satisfying. So satisfying.
Tank shot, roll over, wait for it to get up, tank shot, roll over it,
Or
and just
jump
rinse
jet.
and repeat. Or yeah,
just
jump
land
jet,
on
it's
it.
True.
It's so good. And I will say that's actually one of the more aggravating things about Mass Effect 1 is its severe lack of autosaving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's that classic hardcore RPG, old school stuff where it's like if you ain't saving yourself, you're not getting it saved.
Yeah. Oof.
I will admit I did get stuck for a long time when you finally get to Liara and go to leave, and there's the bounty hunter Krogan and his army. And he's just like, "Move out of my way, you idiot!" And he's like, "I like it."
It's not a lot of cover in that one, and
No.
if for a lot of that, like that's for most of people playing for the first time, that's like one of the first major fights you get into.
Yep.
Because you dicked around in the Citadel a little bit, and you got a few fights there here and there, and then of course you dealt with Eden Prime, but like up to that point, you could kind of goof your way through it and survive just fine. That one's like you are trapped in this space and you have to get through this big boy. Can you do it?
Not only that, but it's not even him that's the real problem. It's all the other little ads because you're trying to
Mhm.
dodge him because he's constantly charging you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it does a really good job of cementing Krogans as a threat.
Right.
Because from there on, you're like, okay, don't fuck with Krogans. Got it.
You see a Krogan, you best go running.
Yup. And it'll stick with you for a long, long time. And it makes you appreciate Rex that much more. It's just like, hey, you're one of those, right? Does that mean you're that badass? And Rex is like, yep.
Well, yes and no, but it was also like, why aren't you getting rid of him, Rex? Come on, please. Why am I having to do the work here?
He's too busy getting stuck on objects.
It's so true. Yeah, Liara Tassoni, Dr. Liara. Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings about her, especially in Mass Effect 1, because I feel like a lot of the time it was sort of built in as like, hey, she's the hot blue alien, huh? Huh? And she like
I fell for it.
And she's definitely got an interesting backstory, and she's a fun introduction to the Asari in general. Of like, oh man, they live forever. They kind of look like they kind of look like human women, but actually theoretically they look different compared to every species, depending what you want. And also they talk a lot about the sex, or sex involved with Asari, off the top, like.
Yeah.
Very much compared to the others. You don't talk about having sex with Garrus in the first conversation you have with him.
Ah! Oh my god.
I know. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that there should be a little bit more all around, and not necessarily just with Liara.
To be fair, with Liara, her whole thing is that her race is stereotypically sexual. Like, even not being sexual, that's how they immediately are seen. Which
that is true. You meet the consort, you go to the club on Citadel before you meet Liara for the first time.
And even like socially,
yeah,
all of the other races, all they see Asari as are pretty sexual things that can have babies with everything.
Yeah.
That's it. That's their defining characteristics.
The trucker mud flap, like silhouette of a woman kind of thing.
Yeah.
Except with head tentacles instead.
And Liara is kind of the counter to that, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because she's actually not particularly sexual. She's a young kid, pretty much, whenever you first meet her. She's super interested in nerd stuff, and that's pretty much her whole deal.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And
young 106-year-old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, as she's keen to remind us, is young by Asari standards.
Right.
Which is, that's terrifying. But one of the things they talk about the most is they're able to mate with anyone because they do it through a mind meld type thing. Which I always found very fascinating, considering when you romance her in Mass Effect 1, she wakes up in the med bay, and she's like, oh wow, that was amazing. And then Shepard's just laying there like, ready for round 2? That's actually a dialogue option, is ready for round 2, and it really caught me off guard. Yeah, I'm just like, but how did, like, I would think that considering like the whole concept of like using your mind for this stuff wouldn't, like, I would feel like an Asari would be better at it, more
She's never
capable.
Done it,
but neither is Shepard. He's just a regular human.
And he's already been mind fucked.
Yeah, and he's just like ready for round 2. Like, what are you gonna do, Shepard? She has to start it. You're not getting anywhere on your own, buddy. Like, I don't even know what is this dialogue option? I don't understand. But I want it.
I accidentally romanced Liara my first playthrough through Mass Effect.
Accidentally?
Yeah, because that was before they really gave away the fact. backstory.
Uh-huh.
I did not know anything about this game going into it. It was the first game of its kind I've ever played. I had never played any dating sims before this. I'd never played any action RPGs. It was strictly things like Doom and old school Final Fantasies. I'd never touched anything like this before. So I had no idea there were sex scenes in this game. Had no idea that the romance options were actually really a thing beyond just, flirty stuff.
Like a little independent bit of dialogue that doesn't change
Right,
anything
right.
ever. Yeah, and I get you.
And so, of course, that means whenever Shepard and Liara have their sex scene at the end of the whole thing, my dad walks in the room and goes, "What the fuck are you playing?"
Fox News told me of this. Time to shut off this sex box.
But no, just had no idea that was a thing. And so it was super surprising because I found her to be a little bit creepy in the game since she's so obsessed with Shepard and what he can do. It's like, you're cute and all, and I like you as a friend. This isn't the friend option. Oh no.
I've always found it weird that the song that plays when you're romancing someone in Mass Effect 1 is the same song that plays when you escape Vermeer after you just blew up one of your friends.
Wait, really? Hold on, because I have the soundtrack on my Google Play, and I have to go back and double check on that.
Yeah, like after you go and blow it up, everybody's sitting around, and I'm 99% sure it plays that theme.
It does.
Yeah, so it plays the love theme after you blow up one of your teammates,
yeah,
and when you have sex with a teammate.
It's literally called Love Theme in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And they just play Love Theme.
Yep.
And the Vermeer.
Yup.
As you fly away and the planet explodes, and then there's the conference room, it plays the love theme.
Jesus.
It's so even better if you romance one of them.
Sure. I got you.
Oh, all right. Well, we're at this point of Mass Effect 1, so I might as well say it. So, as I mentioned, I was very much Team Liara, and very much not Team Space Racist. So, so when it got to Vermeer and Ashley's like, "No, I'll go," I'm like, "All right, you go. This is perfect. Now I don't have to choose between the two of you. Bye." Boom. I'm like, nice. Now I don't have to watch them fight over me. Problem solved. It is literally what happened. I literally killed off Ashley so that I wouldn't have to listen to both of them fight over me. It was a good time. Even though Caden's pretty boring. And Ashley for some reason gets hot later. In the first game, she's super plain, but then in the other games, it's hey, we made her ass 3 times as big. You guys like that? Nice. I'm like, what? What happened?
They really kind of glammed her up a little bit by 3 especially.
Yeah, the full blue latex outfit that she's in 3. I'm like,
we've
I'm
unlocked
thinking
the full potential of Unreal Engine. Here's bigger butt.
I always had this headcanon though that BioWare made her look not too great in the original games, specifically because she was the space racist and they don't want you to really like her in the beginning. But at the same time, it's also kind of maybe this was just a reused model from KOTOR.
I really was feeling more just Mass Effect 1 had a lot. I mean, graphically it was okay, but there are not a lot of great looking humans in that video game. I don't know if you guys remember. Even Anderson, who, universally loved boy.
Yes.
Captain Anderson.
Yeah.
Admiral Anderson. Space Master Anderson. Because I think maybe the 3 Counselor Anderson. He gets a lot of names.
Yeah.
But he let me just bring up a still of Captain Anderson from Mass Effect 1, and it's not great.
And yet, ironically enough, the aliens look amazing.
Right? So much more attention to detail there. Which is... I feel almost that was the point, because we know what humans are supposed to look like, but here's these other races that are completely up to the artist that created them. All that attention to detail, that every bit of detail on them is something new for us, because we've never seen these races before, because it's new to the Mass Effect universe. But we know what humans look like. We've seen a bazillion of them, so it's whatever.
Yeah, that's very much I think a psychological thing more than anything else, of we as humans are very tuned to what a human should look like and not look like. And if a human doesn't look like that, then some problems arise.
Yeah.
Uncanny Valley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Uncanny Valley stuff. Whereas like, oh yeah, I guess I get this. Let's see. I keep running into 2 and 3 where he looks great. Like,
Yeah.
has he been working out? He looks fine. But like, here we go. Here's a shot of Mass Effect 1, Anderson. I'll put it in chat here in just a second.
I can't wait to try to like grab it, and it's just gonna like shuffle where your cameras are positioned. So it's gonna like jumble up, and you're gonna see like
huge.
like half text. All right, hang on. Let me just I'm gonna pull it up on my phone. Everybody get to see what it looks like mirrored. Hang on.
It's very big.
I love Space Dad.
Space Dad's great, and Keith David's even better. But
I
like,
know.
Yes.
he's just like the models in the game were just okay for the humans.
That image. Oh my god. Oh, hang on. I'm gonna like it's gonna take up like the whole screen, but I'm gonna put it on screen so you guys can see it.
Giant.
I can't wait for it to be like super zoomed, so all you can see is his
say-
eyeball or something. It's gonna be
Would
great.
you say it's to Mass Effect?
Ha ha! Ha ha!
I'm taking 10 out of the pun fund for that. I just want you to know that. All right, here we go. Here we go. Browse.
Detail walls and product character.
It's
luck
fine.
with
It's
that,
fine. It's not too
Ben.
bad. There you go.
You're welcome to
There's
try.
old Anderson. Look at that. Look at that. It looks like a grape. It's like
Yeah.
all pruny and. Ugh.
I mean, he's what, in his 70s, 80s in the game?
He's very old, and that's what makes him that much more of a badass.
Totally.
There. Okay.
But yeah, like it just So let's see. We've hit upon Liara. We've hit upon Rex.
So Tali.
It's time. Okay,
I have left Garrus last on purpose. Okay.
Too. Rex is
I
great too.
love.
But
Okay, Tali is best girl. No one can change my mind.
Tali
on that, so
Zora
I
Voss
agree.
Naraya, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or Voss Normandy, depending.
Mass Effect 1, Naraya, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Yeah, so that was actually my first love. I really wanted to date Tali because she was this adorable nerd who was really awkward but really was passionate about the things that she liked, and I really wanted to know her more, but she just kept wanting to talk about the Normandy, and it's like I don't want to talk about the Normandy no more, please.
And if I recall correctly, you can't date her in the first one. You have to wait till the second
No.
one.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, for sure.
Yep. And that's strange because
I mean, she and Garrus are in that same spot, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't.
Yeah.
You either way, you can't have either of them in the first game because they're like, oh, no, people wouldn't want to date like the weird aliens, right? Oh, this is the internet. Oh, shit.
Oh, right. Yeah. Digigrade doesn't bother anybody, huh?
Oh, okay. All right. Different, completely different DNA sets. Oh, it's fine. It's cool. I get it. No, okay, sure. Yeah. Can't eat the same food. Cannot ingest. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I did love Tali.
Oh, yeah.
Tali Zorvas Naraya, the first Quarian to meet, and like the only Quarian to meet, I think, for Mass Effect 1 for a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty spread
Just
out in
like-
the first game.
Very few period in the entire series, which is super disappointing. But
'Cause they're a
Yeah.
fascinating group. Like this idea of
Yeah.
like, oh, we're space gypsies because we're floating around and like we got kicked out of our land by combination of robots and hubris, and like we
Yeah.
and like their whole business is fascinating.
And the fact that, they're all super smart and great with like tech and everything, and they created artificial intelligence even though they knew they shouldn't have, but they did it anyway. And then it was their own fault what happened with the Geth. They were like, they're getting too smart. We need to shut them down.
And they shouldn't have.
They shouldn't have. And everything probably would have been fine.
Yep.
If Mass Effect 3 is anything to go by. Depending on your choices, of course.
Depending on your choices.
Yeah.
And man, that Mass Effect 3, they do not make it that easy to hit to kind of shoot that gap there.
Oh my god, like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
you have to have done things right in previous games, which
Previous
is
games, you have to
Yes.
make sure that you say everything right on every little moment, both on the planet and like beforehand.
Yep.
It's a business.
Legion is so cute though.
Yes.
I do like Legion a lot.
So with Tali, at first I was just like, okay, whatever, I guess. But in Mass Effect 2, I became a big fan of Tali and went that route. And to this day, she is still my favorite Mass Effect waifu, for sure.
She's fun because she's extremely bright. She's sassy. She's ready to like. She's not willing to like back down when when something is going wrong. And she's fun. And
I
emergency induction ports.
love her voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love how they did the Korean voices and even like the Turian voices and stuff. The modulation they do with it, it's so cool.
Yeah. It's neat. And you know, having a race that they're all stuck in suits, so you never really get to see them,
It's mysterious.
Yeah. It plays on that whole, what do they look like?
And they also don't have to design it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
And then they do a face reveal and
It's
No,
bullshit.
okay, kinda. And we'll get into Mass Effect 3 eventually. We'll get there.
yeah, I'm gonna yeah, and I'm gonna have an opinion there that's gonna piss everybody off, but that's gonna be a common thing once we get to Mass Effect 3. Don't worry.
You keep saying that.
Well,
but
we're not to 3
honestly,
yet.
We
It's
will
good, it's
probably
fine.
agree more than we'll disagree,
It's
more than
fine.
likely.
Most likely.
All right, eyes.
I will say actually real quick because I
Yeah,
find Trouble Notes question fascinating. Before we move on to the important crew member, the idea, there are races definitely that suffer from the Hollywood genderization effect. Like they at least deconstruct it a little bit, which is nice, and you get a chance to really dig into those characters. Unlike maybe Star Wars, where like you gonna ever like learn about the Twi'leks more? No, not really. You know, the Asari are kind of the twigs with bosoms, right? And the Krogan definitely feel in that like we're the meatheads, we don't care, we blow stuff up kind of role, right? Like they definitely have a lot of that in there, and number one, like popular culture media is gonna copy popular culture media. Mass Effect is obviously a big is like a product of sci-fi culture and space opera stuff, right? Like the music is very 70s 80s. The aesthetic of everything is retro future. Like it's none of it is definite, or everything is definitely kind of an homage to sci-fi of old. So it makes sense that they also buy into a lot of the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? When something is in every bit of media, it is a cliche. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. But at least because of the media that it's in, that you can actually explore these things and learn more about why or like how these kind of races work within each other and together. Thankfully, eventually, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool, and that's why I think that at Mass Effect 1, starting you at the Citadel is such a genius choice, because it gives you an area that is meant to be free of conflict, but isn't. But it involves all the races, so you could slowly acclimate yourself to everything and get used to everything and see the interactions between different races. Like when you go into the ambassador area and you see the Volus and the Elcor, they're there together, and they're kind of just, well, I wouldn't really say they're hanging out, but they don't really have like a quote unquote proper place like the humans do or the Turians do. And you can tell that the Volus are pissed about that, and you can tell that the Elcors they don't really care. They're just happy to be included. But not only does that give you like natural backstory on these races and give you an idea of what their cultures are like with just a short conversation, but it also shows you that there's like political strife happening
For sure.
in the game, and that's actually a really crucial thing. And there's so many things in the game that are shaped by that are that is so influenced by that. Like the whole first part of the game where they're wanting to get you into the Spectres, but no, we don't believe you. And then Tali's like, I've got proof, and all that stuff. It's all political. The fact that it takes so long to get started on the game is because of the in-universe politics, and it tackles that really well, I think.
And actually, to that point with the Elcor and the Volus, like I find that to be an interesting point that you hit very early. It's one of the first things I think you can just kind of naturally run upon when you're in the Citadel, because I think a lot of people might be thinking, oh, we're in space now. How does everyone breathe the same stuff? How do we all deal with the same atmosphere? How do we all talk the same way? And then you run into exactly two species, one of which cannot handle the atmospheric conditions of the space that everybody else is in, and one of which that does not talk the way that everybody else does. And it's like, oh, you explore that, like, oh yeah, they do have to make considerations for how people live together and also how people communicate together, even if their species never developed a mouth, for example. Yeah. It is always kind of fascinating on that first bit of like, oh, there are some weird and wonderful places. Shame that these aliens we don't really get to interact with, and like their whole conversation about how irrelevant they are is the developer pretty much just saying, oh yeah, they are kind of irrelevant, huh? Well, off they go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things for me is like the codex where all the backstory is. The like main entries, they are read to you if you click on them.
Most of them.
Yeah. Now
and I know that for a fact because I still technically owe this in my stream to read the entire codex of Mass Effect 1 and 2 on stream in one sitting. And that is a tome. Straight up.
That is a whole lot. Oof. But it almost like they didn't have to have someone voice all that. They could just give it to you to read, because again, not all of it's voiced. But I feel like them giving it a voice makes it easier to digest, which means not only did they go out of their way to make all this lore for this game, but they encourage you to explore it. They want you to absorb that lore, to be invested in the universe, because they worked so hard creating it. And I find that really interesting.
I like that they made it in a way that you don't necessarily need it, though, to play through it, too. So people that just want to play it casually, don't want to deal with that, they can just play the missions, and that's all they need. It's not essential, so they don't make it like you need to slog through this billion hours of crap to do anything. Enjoy.
Yeah. And that's good. That's good to have so much detailed extra stuff, but not necessarily make it required, because the moment it becomes required, it becomes a chore, and nobody wants to do chores.
The only trouble is that anytime a game puts anything in front of me, it becomes required. I don't.
That's how I am too.
Yeah, and that's why it takes me 4.5 hours to get off the Citadel every time I play Mass Effect. Yep. Like I almost have the keepers memorized, and it still takes me some time.
It's a big place.
It's loading.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, the elevators.
The elevators are great, though.
They are great, and I kind of miss them, but I don't miss how long they take.
Yeah. I mean, that part sucks, but at the same time, it's also they made up for it a little bit by having the cute little extra dialogues.
Totally.
So I guess it's time to talk about
Daddy?
Yeah, it's time to talk about Garrus. Go ahead, Eyes. I know you want to. Get it off your chest.
I hate them so much for dangling him in front of me the entirety of Mass Effect 1. And not letting me talk to him, and then in 2, letting me finally have him as a romance option, and then dangling him in front of me more, telling me that he needs to calibrate shit for most of the game.
Yeah.
Space Dirty Harry in Mass Effect 1.
Garrus is the Turian companion for the first trilogy. He's quirky. He's basically the wannabe vigilante in training in Mass Effect 1. He's a space cop originally, a detective, and he ends up with you because of the stuff that you're doing for the main quest if you go find him. And he's probably one of the best friends Shepard could have, period. Yeah. Even if you don't romance him, he's a fantastic character. He's got snarky, ridiculous quirks about everything. And I don't know. I can't not have him in my squad, not just because he's a romance option, just because his dialogue with everyone else is just so great.
And his depth too, like
Yeah.
especially as you kind of get to know him a little bit better, and like where his family background is, and like why his kind of moral grounding is where it is, and like that played against the Turian culture and all those things. It's I mean, anytime I play Femship, Garrus is my boy.
Oh yes. There's no shepherd without Vicarian.
Mhm.
And it's funny you mention that, because even without as a romance option, Shepard and Garrus, they really are like brothers. The way their relationship develops, like they would do anything for each other.
Oh yeah,
It's
when you play Mailship, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an amazing just friend relationship to watch grow, and I love it. And you get to see Garrus become more confident and and more comfortable with his ideals as the games progress, and even though he's almost an outcast, he becomes like really high up by Mass Effect 3. So it's like, even though he went against what the normal accepted Turian thing would be, he still made it work, and he still succeeded for it. And it's so cool to see him succeed and know that you saw him when he was a nobody, and now look at him. It's just really cool to see that.
Totally.
I love that, and I also love the fact that a lot of his development hinges on Shepard and the player choosing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because
He does really trust you. Yeah.
Not only that, it's basically just he sees you as somebody to idolize a little bit, to look up to in the beginning. And based on what you teach him throughout 1, that makes his entire basis of his personality for 2. And that's crazy to look at, because most games don't do anything like that with their character development. And I really like that a lot.
Yeah. I think that's something that we probably have to touch on. Oh, you go ahead, Shadow.
I was just gonna say I like his little eye thing.
I do too.
All 3 games, no matter what, he's always got his trusty little like eye, like bullseye thing that he wears, and you always wonder what's he looking on? What's he seeing on that thing? Just
porn
all day, every day.
It's just constant porn.
At least in 2 he is. Since he's doing research.
He's got to do some research.
Have to know what parts to calibrate, you know what I'm saying?
Got to figure out that reach versus flexibility, you know?
Oh, so that's what the calibrations are for. Okay. I had no idea.
Tractor, you're not wrong. I won't even.
But that's
Jesus Christ.
Kill me over here. But I feel like that's something we should probably touch on now, is your decisions matter, and the games they're not just separate experiences. They're one whole experience, because certain decisions that you make in each game can affect what happens in other games. Not just later in the same game, but later in the series. Completely different games. Through the use of an import tool that remembers what decisions that you've made that are important. And it can drastically change things. Getting like the best endings for everyone in Mass Effect 3 is much easier if you have imported data with the proper decisions.
I mean, entire characters won't exist unless you import, which is absurd. Like nobody has ever tried that before this, I'm pretty sure, and very few decided that was a good idea after.
Yeah, because that's hard to do. I mean, imagine creating characters that very, very few of your players are going to see because of the choices that they make, or the fact that with Mass Effect 2, which I'll get into more detail on that when we get there, but if certain characters do not survive the game, they're just not in 3.
Yeah, they just don't exist. I mean, even in Mass Effect 1, there are characters who if you choose poorly or choose the way you want, I guess.
Ashley.
They're just not good. Well, also Bella, also Rex, right? Like, You could
That's
just
the
have
big
an
one.
entire game where he's just not there for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal in 3 too, because that
Totally.
really changes the outcome of what can happen with the Krogan in 3. That's
Yeah.
a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like there are decisions in Mass Effect 1 that will drastically change how your game ends in Mass Effect 3. And
Yeah.
that is obscene.
That
like
is
That's-
ridiculous and amazing.
decisions
love
you
it.
made back in 2006 affect how your game goes in 2012. It's like, what?
Yeah. And
That's
that's
part
so
of the
cool.
reason that I love it, though.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, one thing that these new Mass Effect fans that had come up, these casuals playing this remastered edition, will never have the initial experience of not only making sure that your saves are saved between various games, but also the laborious process of collecting the 37 bits of DLC that you could have between the 3 games that actually
Yup.
do have outcomes affecting the other games.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I know to this day my BioWare social network login and password that you would need in order to access all the little bits of DLC that you had in order to have number 1, like 4 more characters that wouldn't be in them otherwise, or just entire sections of like side story that can introduce entire new elements into the third and second game for that matter. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the first like drastic examples of that is Rex on Vermeer.
Yeah.
Yep.
For those of you that aren't aware, not to go too into detail, the bad guy apparently has a cure for the genophage that has plagued the Krogan people, and Rex is like, I want that. That's kind of an important thing. And Shepard's like, but he's the bad guy, and Rex is like, so he has the cure, and you have to talk him down. And if you don't, you'll kill him. And he's dead. He's dead for the whole trilogy.
And the big trick with that one too is that's like one of the first moments where if you don't have enough points one way or the other, he is dead.
Yeah.
Like you have to be enough of a paragon or a renegade in order to save Rex. And that's a hell of a thing. And if you were playing middle of the road for a good chunk of that game, all of a sudden you just lost a friend. Like you just that is gone for the whole time. And I actually, as much as I love Mass Effect, I find that to be a weakness of the series. Of like, I totally am appreciative of like the kind of flavor that you can get by being good all the way or being bad all the way, but like you shouldn't necessarily have to lose people by choosing like whether or not you're good or bad or just trying to play gray your whole way.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but at the same time, I appreciate how ballsy it is for them to do that, because it's like, I'm willing to kill main characters in order to develop this game based on the player's choice. That's great.
It's, again, like the beginning of Mass Effect 2. It's so ballsy, and it pays off. Because if you save Rex there, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life because of how intense it is. Like, you've never had that with your party members. You assume they're in your party, that, I mean, okay, died in combat, whatever, combat's over, you'll just get back up, it's fine, whatever. And then suddenly, Rex turns on you, and he's like, the line between friend and foe is blurring a little bit here, Shepard. Like, ooh.
And it's well earned too. Like you definitely set up like about the genophage at this point. You know that it is completely and totally annihilated the Krogan as an entire species, in like their entire way of life, beyond just the destruction they've done to themselves. But like this has completely ruined them. And so Rex, you feel Rex. You know why he's upset. You know why like where he is mentally and how your choices are really going to make an effect on him too.
Yeah, and like, Rex is like, God, it's so good, but like Rex is like, Shepard, you're my friend. We've been through a lot, and I respect you, and I'm proud to call you a friend. But this is my entire race we're talking about. I will kill you for that. And it just shows you that these characters, you're not just, oh, hey, we're friends now, and that's the end of it. No. These people still have their own lives, their own agendas. And, oh, God, just so good.
It's very, very, very good. And yeah, like the the choice that you make there, which may feel like, oh man, that kind of sucks. Rex was kind of cool. Like, has meaningful effects on 2 and then especially 3.
Yeah, it drastically
Yeah,
changes
3
3.
is without Rex in 3. Honestly, I hate that whole section.
Yeah,
I've never done it, and I've read about it, and I don't want to do it.
yeah.
I've only seen it once, and it was because I couldn't import my saves originally, and I didn't have a
Oh.
way of playing 1 and 2 over, so I just tried it just to see it. Oh my god, it's so dissatisfying, especially knowing there's a difference if you have Rex in a
Yeah.
big one in a really positive way.
And Rex is just such a badass anyway. Like every time you see Rex, you're like, "Oh shit, something cool about to happen." And
Totally.
I love him so much. He's such a good character.
He really is. They did so good with Rex. Love it. I hate that you can't have him in 2, but you get Grunt. So, anytime any game
Grunt's
gives you Steve Bloom, I mean, I'm always good with that. So.
Yes. I mean,
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't have a problem with voices. I mean,
So, speaking of decisions that matter, the bad guy in the first game, Saren and the Geth, that is, in my opinion, a genius villain to start with, because you have an evil Batman is basically what you have. You have a dude that works outside of the constraints of normal law, and everyone's basically okay with it because he's a Spectre, so it's fine, whatever. And then you have these rampant AI that everybody just assumes is bad, and you assume they're bad because every time you encounter them, they're trying to kill you. And it's not until
usually
much
a pretty
later.
good sign, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not until much later in the game, in Vermeer, where you learn, maybe something's controlling the Geth. And it turns out to be the Reapers, which is a whole can of worms.
And that, by the way, that reveal of like the Reapers for the first time, and the song they play for, I think, Sovereign.
Yeah.
It's just this quiet, like, dread kind of building, and it's so good. It's so good. Every time I think back to it, I remember feeling like something has gone wrong. Something is very wrong here, and I don't know how to fix this at the moment. It's kind of that, that sort of kind of that eldritch horror, like cosmic horror, something well beyond something that I could handle kind of thing.
Right.
And I think honestly, Mass Effect 1 actually nails that better than 2 or 3.
Oh yeah, for
in a
sure.
lot of regards.
Yeah.
Of like, these are like mysterious, otherworldly beings that control a lot, and I don't know how to beat this, but I can at least beat the things that they're controlling for right now.
Yeah. And they take that to the next level in 2 by constantly assuming direct control, where it just
Fuck that guy.
beefs up normal dudes to be extra tough. And you're like, oh, okay, so this could just happen anytime. This is nutty. And it adds an extra depth to combat. You have to be alert. You have to listen for that. Because somebody's about to mess your shit up. But one of the things that, in Vermeer, when you first talk to Sovereign, he's that hologram that you find in that back office. And I gotta say, it wasn't the first time I played Mass Effect 1, but it was like the third or fourth time I played it. I had my Xbox hooked up to a 1,000 watt subwoofer with surround sound, and Sovereign's voice knocked pictures off the wall. It was so
there's a lot of bass in there, huh?
Oh my god, it just shook the house. It was amazing. I loved every second of it.
I love the Reaper sound designs so much. They're great.
Just the screams, the low, like, bass boosted screams.
Yes.
Basically dubstep.
Yeah.
Dubstep, the eldritch horror.
And he has so many good lines too, you exist because we allow it, and you will end because we demand it. It's just like, the balls on this dude. But he has the power to back that up.
He's also kind of a pissant all at the same time.
Right?
So that makes him even more terrifying, because it's like, this is the scout.
Yeah, this is just the guy that's supposed to show up and open the front doors for everybody else to show up to the party. He's just the host.
Yeah, he's arrogant, but you kind of feel like he probably earned it. He earned that arrogance, and it's terrifying that first time, and it's like, okay, well now what? I guess we're fighting Space Cthulhu, huh?
Yeah.
I like it.
And then come end of Mass Effect 1, where it takes an entire armada of like a joined armada of like humans and Turians and Asari. Like it took everybody attacking all at the same time just to kill one. And then
And that's the little one.
that was just one.
Yeah, we took on the baby.
Oh, that was something else. And
Speaking of that final fight, there's actually a very big choice that you make during that fight.
Right?
That I the first time I played, I was very focused on like the explosions and everything going on. They're like, do we say these people or do we like go fight them? And I was like, I don't know. It feels like if we kill Sovereign, then we don't have to worry about this anymore. Oops. All of the entire galactic government's dead now, huh?
Rip.
Yeah.
That's a kind of made a mistake on that one, huh? And everyone's really upset about it
Really
too.
A mistake? Is it
Well,
really?
I don't know.
they appreciate it a lot if you save their lives or whatever.
Well, yeah, but
A
they're
lot of the
dicks.
aliens appreciate it a lot. And
Yeah.
they're dicks, but are the new council members really any less dickish?
They really aren't. They're all
No,
dicks.
they're kind of worse, is
Yeah.
what I found. And so
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I miss talking to the other people. At least like we had a history.
Right? Yeah, that's like
They would call, they would yell at me for doing things. I'd hang up on them. It was a great relationship.
this is really good. One of the other choices, so to speak, that you can make at the very end of the game during the final fight is when you get to the control room of the Citadel, and Saren is there, and you have this conversation with him, and if you have enough Paragon, you can convince him that this whole time he's been wrong, and he's just like, shit, you right, and he blows his brains out right in front of you, and it skips the first phase of the boss fight.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's so insane to me. I mean, you still have to fight the second phase because he's like being controlled. His metal endoskeleton thing is being controlled by Sovereign, and it's
I think you could do it as Renegade
You
too, for that
can.
matter.
yeah,
You
probably.
can. It's just you're a bit more of a jerk to him about it. You're not appealing to what's left of him. You're
Yeah.
just basically like, yeah, you're shit. This is why.
You're either appealing to his good nature, or you're kind of just bullying him into it, and it's like,
Right.
ooh, oh, all right.
Right.
But yeah, I think that kind of really sells that horror point again on it too. Is like he dies, but you still have to fight him because
Yep.
that's the power of this otherworldly beat creature that you're fighting.
Yeah, it's
I
so cool.
love how much all of those things contribute to how just horrific the Reapers are in one. You don't
Yeah.
even get to see what they're really like, and you're just horrified by them. And they get way worse later. And I think they're still scarier in one than they are than any of the other games because of that.
Well, it's that classic horror bit of you are more afraid of what you don't know than you are of what you do. And
Exactly.
by 2 and 3, you have so much information about what the Reapers are. They're like, it's just kind of big bug spaceship things. Yeah, it's whatever, man. But like in the first one, it's like, what? How many are there? How big are they? What are they coming from? And they keep showing that one like clip of like flesh melting with like circuitry.
Yeah.
Like whenever you see the visions, it's like this is like some real gnashing of teeth stuff, and I don't like that.
Yeah, those scenes are always like every time they would show up, just being like, "Oh God, this is."
Makes you feel bad for Shepard. He gets to see that every time he closes his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely. I think if had they tried to show in Mass Effect 1 what they showed in 2 and 3, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? It'd be like,
No.
yeah, just kind of big evil bug things, whatever, cool. But it's like, going into 2, like we gotta deal with them. But how do you even deal with something like that?
And they also kind of offset it too by doing the whole, "Yay, you survived! Look at this, you did the thing. You're awesome. You're a hero." For now,
Yeah.
You survived. One.
die later.
Mhm.
It's funny you say you survive, after like they start to dig your team out of the rubble after the fight with Saren, and Shepard like comes out and he starts limping forward, but then he gets this shit-eating grin on his face, and then boom, cut to black. Oh, so satisfying.
Yeah, and
Ugh.
you can actually whiff that too. You can die there.
Totally.
That's Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the end of Shepard. You just die.
I mean, Mass Effect 1, right? That's
Yep.
it. There's no other Shepard.
Yep.
Now there are two characters that I want to discuss in Mass Effect 1 before we move on to Mass Effect 2, and that is Captain Anderson and Ambassador Udina.
Oh boy, I knew you were gonna want to talk about that.
Because it's a big decision at the end of that game.
Yeah. So
that's a really big decision. I don't know about it.
yeah. So if you I'm not sure if it matters whether or not you save the council or not as to whether you make this decision, but we're gonna run into the assumption that you do save the council. They're like, hey, yeah, okay, we do need someone from humanity to represent you guys on the council. Who do you want to pick? Do you want to pick Captain Anderson or do you want to pick Ambassador Udina? Now, Ambassador Udina is a politician, so that means you should probably immediately hate him because he sucks, and he does. He's an absolute prick, one of my least favorite characters in the entire trilogy. I despise him with all that I am.
Like poorly written, or
No,
just like least love to hate?
I love to hate. He's
I
written
think
really well.
He's very good at loving to hate.
Oh
yeah.
yes,
He's
he is
a
written,
very effective character.
Yes, he is written in such a way to make you want to hate him because he's just such a prick. And then near the end of the game, after I think it's after Vermeer, before Ilos, you're grounded on the Citadel and they won't let you leave. And Anderson's like, man, fuck these politics. I'm gonna get you out of here. And he just goes into Udina's office and just punches him right in the mouth and uses his
Knocks
computer
him
to get
out.
you out of there. It's so good. And it makes you like Anderson that much more. And Captain Anderson's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, no kidding. He's great.
I love Captain Anderson. Although I will admit, I don't think... of course, he has great moments like punching Udina in the face. But I don't think he really hits his stride until later. And I'll discuss why I think he's great in the later games when we get there. But between Anderson and Udina for Council, I always pick Anderson, of course. But I also feel bad.
I was to say the kind of funny part about that though is like that decision. If you're going back and you're repeating the game, like you know that Anderson's kind of miserable for you making that decision for him. Like,
definitely.
He does not like that you made him the counselor. He much would have preferred to just stay in the military and be the military boy.
Yeah.
But instead, like, yeah. So it's a fight between do you want Udina to win or do you want him to lose more than anything else?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I've picked Udina before, and I mean, honestly, I didn't notice much of a difference between the two choices in 2 or 3, just because of how things play out later. But it's like, I mean, he's gonna get that anyway.
Yeah.
So who would you rather make happy?
Right. And that's actually an important point to note too. And I think as we continue on with this, you know, like there are a lot of decisions you make in the series, and not all of them are going to drastically change the game. And I think Mass Effect got a lot of flack for that over the years. But honestly, like when you're doing as much as you're doing, like there's a limit as to how much a video game can do, right? Like you can't have every little decision that you make have ripples down that create incredibly new paths that you would otherwise not have.
Right.
And like, I think it's fine. I think it's fine that it's not that different. And honestly, that also sometimes reflects life, right? Like the decisions you make don't change everything forever, universally, whatever. But I think that'll be, there'll be a theme, especially going to 2 and 3 of like, how much do your decisions actually change things?
Yeah. And sometimes it's very minor changes. Sometimes there's no changes at all. Sometimes it's big changes. And another, parallel to life, you never know what one of your decisions might do. You never know what an impact that's going to have on the world or even just one person. You don't know. So like with Mass Effect, unless you're following a guide, you don't know the ripples that your decisions are going to cause. You don't know which decisions are going to cause ripples, and the ones that do cause ripples, you don't know how big of ripples those are going to be. And that adds to the mystery of the game, I feel. It really makes you think about each and every decision because you don't know which ones are important. So you have to treat them all like they're important or you risk missing stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's cool. It gets
also,
you more invested in the world.
With the Udina choice specifically, if you do choose him, it makes the impact of later even worse, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I trusted you with this,
Mm.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or I was just thinking too, there's another decision that in Mass Effect 1 we didn't touch upon too much was the decision when you do face up against Liara's mother and you take down take on the Rachni Queen.
Oh, the Rachni Queen, yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
what sort of decisions you make there. I think a lot of people were upset in Mass Effect 3 that it felt like it didn't change a whole lot. For those who don't know about Mass Effect, the idea is that there's this kind of classic alien bug thing that does a lot of damage and kills a lot of people, and you kind of alien the movie your way through a space like a research area that's filled with these critters that want to just like murder everybody. And you all of a sudden there's this decision time of whether you release this this alien queen bug, the Rachni, or you kill her. And it doesn't really come up a whole lot in Mass Effect 2. It kind of comes up a little bit. And then 3, there's a big scene with them, regardless of what decision you made. And a lot of people I think were like, oh man, decisions don't matter. They do change a few things here and there, but like it is still kind of a fascinating, like, what do you do with a bug that is dead or not sort of situation? And just like the development that it would have had to take and the writing that it would have to take to make that happen.
Now, with that in particular, it does affect the overall war if you save the Rachni Queen.
You get more assets,
yeah,
right?
you get Rachni soldiers to help, like, with the assembly of the Crucible,
right?
Which is good. And I believe that there's something involving the boss, the Reaper-ified Rachni Queen. I think if you saved her, it does something with that that doesn't happen if you didn't save the Rachni Queen, or if you're just loading a non-imported game. There's something else that changes there, but I can't quite remember what it is, but it's not super important. So it's
she
one of
definitely
those,
talks to you about it, but
yeah,
I can't remember if there's anything else too much.
Yeah, it's one of those decisions where it actually seems like it's going to matter a lot, and it really doesn't.
Right.
But you
Which
do get
is super unfortunate.
Yeah. I wish we could have had more there, but I get why they didn't.
They were also making Dragon Age at the same time.
Yeah.
So
kind of overreaching a little bit for the little company.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with EA cracking a whip behind them the whole time, going faster.
Yeah.
More.
Give me more money.
Make this a shooty shoot, please.
Oh, and that they did. I'll get there. But when you're talking to the Rachni Queen in the first game, the Rachni's the Rachni Queen talks about how they communicate through like sound, and they can see sound as like colors, which is really fascinating stuff. But the Rachni Queen talks about how like back then, they were like overcome with like anger and whatever because of this sour yellow note that is implied to be the Reapers, I believe. So yet another thing that the Reapers caused to go wrong that we didn't know was the Reapers' fault.
Right.
Which is, again, very fascinating. It's just another tendril in the Reapers controlling everything, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I like the fact that they don't even come out and say it either. They just hint Reapers had an effect with these guys even before Shepard was involved in the story.
Right.
Makes it feel bigger.
So
definitely,
with whenever we like finish with a game and we get ready to move on to the next one, we have a bit of a rating system. For this particular podcast episode, I don't feel like it's gonna matter because, as I mentioned, this is all one whole experience. But I figured I'd bring it up anyway. Normally, when we move on from a game, we give that game a rating of essential, recommended, optional, or no. Based on whether or not we think that it should be played by someone. Like, yeah, you absolutely need to play this, or you should play this, or you can play this, or you should not play this. Again, I don't think that really applies here because if you're going to play one, you should probably play them all, or you're not getting the full story.
Yeah.
But I might be a little controversial here. I'm gonna go with recommended actually on Mass Effect 1.
Is it because of the clunk?
As much as I love the world building and the introduction of the characters and the races and the universe, like it is not a comfortable game to play in this modern era. Because I love Mass Effect so much, I almost feel like My concern is that if someone was scared off by the gameplay of the original Mass Effect, that they wouldn't make it to 2 and 3, which are much more user friendly
Mm.
in terms of playing that. To that idea, like there are, there are ways of generating files for Mass Effect that you can go into 2 if you so choose, so you don't have to necessarily worry about those things. I don't know how like accessible those are compared to how they used to be, but like yeah, honestly, I would say recommended. Like definitely do it if you're okay accepting that this game was from the mid 2000s and they hadn't quite figured out shooting things yet. And like if that's okay with you, and like maybe you just play on easy or something to make your life easy, great, do it. But yeah, I would say of the 3, probably recommended.
That's fair. I think for me, I'm gonna say essential, but I'm gonna say essential close to the line of recommended. I do think that it should be played by anybody getting into the series. But if you were to have like this amazing software that is like, it explains to you the different decisions in one that mattered and it lets you pick between them, and then it would create a save file for you to load into 2, maybe skip 1. But I mean, you should play it, but if you have access to that software that may or may not exist, I don't know, then you could maybe skip 1 and still be fine, because a lot of the game's stuff that feels so impactful, so gripping, so epic comes from 2 and 3. 1 is still an amazing game, but if I did have to give 1 recommended over essential, I guess, yeah, it would be Mass Effect 1. I do still think people should play it, but out of the 3, 1 is the least necessary, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. I adore 1. It was the first game that I ever played that many hours on ever. I definitely would recommend people playing it, but especially since it hasn't aged well at all, recommended is all I can give it, especially since in 2 they have the option of you being able to choose the major choices from 1 with a DLC.
Yeah, I thought there was something like that.
Yeah, it's a free included thing they added for people who don't have the other games or don't have the ability to import if they played on PC, for example. So you can just choose all of the major decisions that have an impact on the game just by picking that at the very beginning, and it walks you through it a little bit.
Yeah, they explain they it's like voiced, and there's like a little bit of explanation as to what was happening in each situation. So you get a little bit of context, yeah.
Right. You don't get some of the extra stuff that makes 1 kind of worth it to play, like getting your Paragon and Renegade levels up, using all of the stuff with their Spectre training and all that stuff to get your abilities and your money higher for 2, which is nice, but it's not necessary. You don't need it per se.
Yeah,
It just makes the game easier.
I think it was made because I think like the PS3 only got 2 and 3
Correct.
as opposed to the whole series, and I think that's why they made it. Was like, we want to sell you the series, and we also not want to completely leave you behind. So here, have this.
That's correct.
Yeah, no, I think that was a wise choice, and it is not a terrible way to go through it. If you got the time, by all means, please do Mass Effect 1. But like, yeah, it's not a ton other than the story and the characters and things like that. Like it's not a ton of fun to go through right now.
Although driving the anti-gravity tank is really fun.
Yeah.
Keppa.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 1 is it's one of those games that in a way it's hard to go back to. I feel like it's the only one of the 3 that's clunky like that. I think 2 and 3 are definitely modern enough to not have that degree of clunk. The option to do that import stuff was really good, really smart. I had something else I was gonna add, but I lost it.
I mean, I
Shame
think
on you.
the last thing I'll say about Mass Effect though is that like it was the first game that like it was the first game that I played that didn't like have a score or like just something I was trying to achieve. I wasn't trying to just beat up all the bad guys. I wasn't trying to like just get to the end of a level, right? It was the first time that I actually gave any shits about the characters and like the story and the world that I was in. And that will always hold in my heart for the rest of my days of like why this series is so important to me, is that like it was the first time I realized that you could really tell an engaging, thoughtful, interesting, and altogether like heartbreaking story over the course of 3 games, certainly, but especially in that first one.
Also, there's just nothing more satisfying than finishing the game and getting that ending theme in one.
Ugh,
That's just
yes.
I love it so much. It's so great.
M4 Part 2, I think
M4
it's.
Yep,
Part 2.
by
Yep.
Fonts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm so sad he didn't do the rest of them. Ugh.
It is a shame.
Yeah. I did remember what I was going to say. Mass Effect 1 was actually a bit of a cult game. Not that it sold poorly, but it wasn't like this blockbuster hit or anything. It was word of mouth that kind of carried it until the second game came out. And then when the second game came out, it exploded and it got like that mass attention and everyone was like, oh, wow, this game's crazy good. And, but the first game, it was a bit of a cult game when it came out. A lot of people went back to it after the second one came out and they're like, whoa, this game's great. I should play the first one. And so, yeah. But let's, that's Mass Effect 1. So now Mass Effect 2. We've already talked quite a bit, actually, about how the game had the balls to kill you at the beginning.
And I'm not surprised that we mixed a lot of them together because, I mean, these 3 games are completely connected, right? Like all the different pieces really come together as a whole. When people tell me or ask me like what my favorite game is, I tell them the Mass Effect trilogy. Like it's cheating, but it's also true.
Yeah. It's
especially how well they play into each other too.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. You don't feel like it's a separate story from the same person. It's like, oh, what's Shepard doing now? I guess he's on another adventure. And it doesn't feel like that. It's one cohesive experience.
Totally.
And that's so good to me. I'm used to games like, Final Fantasy where 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, they're all completely different games, have basically nothing to do with each other. Mass Effect's not like that. Mass Effect is like, we couldn't fit the entire thing into one game, so we made 3. Just, so good. But one of the things that's going to be very different between Mass Effect 1 and 2, besides like the combat and the improvements they made there, are going to be your new squad mates, the new characters that you get to meet. Which we'll just start with the 2 that you meet right out of the gate after you come back to life through the use of science and other such shenanigans. Miranda and Jacob. We already talked about Jacob a little bit, and one of the things I want to add there is, you guys were talking about the way that he's written, and he's like your bro, but you never chance to really romance him and that kind of stuff. One of the things that stuck with me about Jacob was actually his loyalty mission, and I'll go into loyalty missions a little bit in a bit to explain to you guys what it is. But you find out that his dad, whom he thought was dead, is actually not dead, and instead has basically ruled over a colony of people that have lost their mental states due to poisonous flowers on the planet they crash landed on. So you find out Jacob's dad's a dick, but Jacob always looked up to his dad, and just getting to see how Jacob takes that is very character building and very memorable to me.
Yeah, I think this is something that we're going to run into a lot for the rest of this, is that, and this is the reason why I love Mass Effect as much as I do. While Mass Effect 1 was good at like world building and things like that, 2 and 3 where they really shine, because most of the time of 2 I couldn't give less of a shit about like the actual main plot. It's about the characters, right?
Yeah.
It's about the squad mates, the people you meet along the way, because every member of your squad gets a recruitment mission, minus Miranda and Jacob, and then they also get what's called a loyalty mission, where you get to do a thing that they want to kind of resolve as part of like, you're about to throw me into what the game literally calls the suicide mission. I need to resolve this in my life before I go and join you on that. So can you help me do this thing? And what that means is that every character that you get to hang out with, you get this like 2-3 hours of just learning more about them through action and through the words of others and through their reactions to things. And it is just in terms of gaming, just in general, I think the game where they treat characters better than any other game I've ever played.
Yeah.
And Jacob, Miranda, for the most part, although maybe some of the weakest characters of the bunch that you get, definitely are no exception to that rule.
Yeah. And that's something there is like Jacob and Miranda, I would agree, are some of the weakest characters, but Jacob's still memorable even still.
Yeah.
That loyalty mission, I think, is what cemented Jacob as a character for me. Because he was the one that's like, yeah, I work for Cerberus, but I want to always do the right thing anyway.
It's just a job, dude. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just here for the payment and the space and the whatnot.
Well, it's not only that too. Jacob's one of those characters in the game that I like because his whole thing is he sees the best in everything first over most of the characters.
Mhm.
He's always seeing like the best that happened in the Alliance until he couldn't see it anymore, and that's why he left. And he's trying to see only the good things about Cerberus too, and just like shepherds this great person in his mind throughout the entire thing. And he's showing that reflected in his loyalty mission as well. And it's all about him coming to terms with the fact that he can't look at things that way all the time. He
Yeah.
has to see the bad things too. So I like it.
Crazy good character
But
development.
you also need that energy, like, because otherwise
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be really miserable.
Yeah.
No kidding. And
then,
Miranda,
yeah.
she's great too.
Yeah, Miranda
but in a
is
different way.
Yeah, Miranda's something.
she gets a lot of flack. I at the time this came out, there was a TV show on NBC that has not aged great, called Chuck.
Chuck. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Yvonne, who plays Miranda, is one of the main characters in that. And so like I was pretty smitten with her because of that. And I think I honestly, because of that, I feel like I have a more favorable view of Miranda than some. But like, yeah, I mean, she's definitely. I think people there's a certain gaming culture. I don't know if you've heard about this, but like
Yeah.
when women have are upset about their status in society, people get mad about it in gaming.
I don't
But
know. I
like-
like Miranda for that reason though, because
Yeah.
she's kind of like you see her as eye candy through the first part of the game, right? That's pretty much all she is. She's kind of bitchy, she's kind of pushy, she's this is
Cocky.
what we need you to do. She's
She's
very full of herself
cocky.
with good reason.
I was
Like,
genetically engineered to be perfect.
Right. And you find
Yes,
out
you
she's
are.
a clone. It's like she's like fighting against her own creation. So
Yeah.
you have
Right.
to have some respect for that all
Yeah.
at the same time.
and her loyalty mission even with her sister. It shows that, Miranda, cocky bitch, that is, the company woman, wants everything to be done for the company. She even wanted to put control implants in Shepard.
Right.
But then you get to see the human side of her through her loyalty mission, which again, character development. It's so good. It's like every loyalty mission is perfectly designed to give you just the right character development to make you see the character in a new light that makes you like them. It's insane how well designed the loyalty missions are in that game.
Yeah, and I to note in chat, they're mentioning that like her loyalty mission is a little less about her necessarily, but I think sometimes the loyalty missions don't have to be about the character to reveal a shit ton about their character.
Yeah.
And like especially with that one of like her like sister is about, or like she tried to make sure that she didn't have to deal with all the shit that she dealt with when she grew up, and like a part of that is making sure that like she can escape from that same sort of judgment and at least have options in her own life to do things. Like that's significant, that's important, right? Like to her own growth of like, I want to make sure that people have a choice in life on what they do and not be just brigaded towards this one thing.
Right. Yeah. And I can't help but wonder, like, without her loyalty mission, you never get to see that caring side. So she would just be a bitch, and you wouldn't like her, and you would ignore her. And that would carry into 3 as well. You wouldn't want to help her do anything, and it kind of matters, It's fascinating.
She also suffers from that same Ash Williams problem
Yeah.
of like if you talk to her once and then decide that is the end of your interactions with that character, you never learn with the person within that. And it kind of don't judge a book by the cover kind of thing, certainly, but also to the extent of that becomes a problem in video games where if you don't see it and you don't have the will to try to see it out, then you're not going to get that growth. And not to say there's anything wrong with you disliking a character in a game, but it does kind of suck sometimes that like the experience that you have will be so different from someone else. Not in the sense of like, well, there's just different flavors here, but now of like, well, I just didn't do that part because I don't know, I didn't like it. It's like, oh, but then you find out she has a soul.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love that her loyalty mission basically solidifies the fact that she's not living for herself at all. She's doing
No.
all of this entirely for her sister. She doesn't
Mhm.
actually really give that much of a fuck about Cerberus.
Yeah.
She's only going along with things and working for them and doing her best for them so they take care of her sister.
Totally.
So it's like, I can have a lot of respect for a person who would be willing to do that. If that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
you're willing to sacrifice your own happiness to make sure this person you may not ever get to interact with is going to have a life. That's a big deal for a character development, I think.
Yep. And it's interesting. One of the things you said, Shadow, was how the main story is just kind of whatever, fuck off. The getting these characters and all that is the main draw of Mass Effect 2. And one of the things I find really fascinating about that is like 2/3 of the main plot is just you getting characters.
Yeah.
Even they knew that is what people wanted, and they were right. It is what we wanted. It's just so good.
I mean, even the DLCs, right? Like a majority of that time is not really so much what's going on in the DLC, so much as like where you're connecting with.
Yeah.
Overlord, yes, it's a completely separate plot, but like all the other ones are like Kasumi Goto.
That mission is so much fun.
I love Kasumi.
The
She's
the
great.
mission.
Oh, the
it's
heist
so
is
good.
great. Hang out with Liara in probably the most vital DLC of all of them.
Yeah.
I know.
With the Shadow
Lair
Broker.
the Shadow Broker.
Lair the Shadow Broker.
Leviathan, right?
Was
That
Leviathan?
that
Leviathan
three?
was 3.
There was that one though that I know what you're talking about. The one where like you accidentally kill an entire group of Batarians.
Yeah. That's big deal stuff. That's
Oops, big genocide.
Oh,
Was
yeah. Oh my
Arrival?
God.
Arrival.
Yes,
I think
that's
it was
the one.
yeah, it was supposed to bridge 2 and 3 together.
Yeah.
That's
And,
big deal DLC.
Yeah. And one of the few that isn't like character driven on that
Yeah.
one either, for that matter.
Yeah. I feel like the Mass Effect series did really, really good stuff with DLC.
Agreed.
In a time
The
period
series
where
that I
DLC
cared about DLC, yeah.
Yeah. And in a time period where DLC was very hit and miss and somewhat frowned upon. Everything
Totally.
had DLC at that point, and a lot of DLC felt like it was just companies wanting more of your money for very little extra content. But Mass Effect, of course, broke that mold like it does and gave you good DLC. And it's just
DLC is still better than paid transactions in game, though.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, horse armor. Yeah.
But again,
Oblivious.
situation where like if you didn't have those DLCs going into Mass Effect 3, like you miss a big old part of that story, which
Yeah.
like I always love the DLCs and I think they added a lot, and I also understand a production cycle of where like these are stories they wanted to tell but couldn't necessarily finish it and put it in the base game.
Mhm.
And to that extent, I very much appreciate apparently this remastered trilogy edition is going to have like all the DLCs just loaded by default, so you don't have to worry about all that. So that's great. But yeah, again, kind of a situation where like if you didn't have all that, did you have an incomplete game? And that sort of feeling, regardless of how you may feel about it, still kind of sucks that you have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do kind of sort of go over it a little bit, but just you miss out on so much extra stuff, especially with the Liara DLC. That's, I don't know. I kind of wish they would have made that part of the actual game.
Yeah, no, the Lair of the Shadow Broker was super, and because they even hint at it in the game of like, Liara's, oh yeah, look, Liara's back. Oh, she's kind of cold now though, because like things happen in her life, and she's hot in the tails of this Shadow Broker. Oh man, well, good luck with that. See ya. And then you just kind of leave it hanging there with a little bit of assistance, and you know that there's something there, but like it just doesn't get a chance to play out until that DLC.
Right. And they even have a comic about that whole thing too, that if you don't know about, you don't get to see that stuff either.
That's true. I have the comics for that. Yeah, I have those too.
Me too.
Oh boy.
I feel sad suddenly.
I'm sorry. Did you not read the five novels, 7 comics, and 1 tablet-based game that will inform you about the rest of the series?
Don't forget about the awesome coloring book. That's actually a thing. I have it. It's pretty. I can't color in it.
The question is there any lore in there that we're missing?
Yes.
No.
But did you buy the coloring book? No? Then you missed something. Oh,
Well, you
come
never
on.
truly learned about what happens to Solarians when they turn 36. Come on, this is obvious.
Here's a spoiler: they die.
Oh. Speaking of Solarians, there's a particular Solarian in Mass Effect 2.
The first Solarian, the scientist Solarian,
Oh
who
yes.
studies species Turian, Asari, and Batarian.
I am the very model of a scientist. Oh my god, no, we're not doing this
That's
anyway. Go
amazing.
ahead.
That song makes me cry now because of RNG.
I know.
Mhm.
Yep. I just that makes me mad. I'll get to it. But Morden.
Morden Solus.
One of my favorites, but also gets the shaft a lot because of the suicide mission. Sorry, Morden.
Really couldn't pick up that same voice actor, huh? It still kind of bugs me to this day just a little bit that he swaps between 2 and 3.
I don't remember the names, but I don't know. I hate when games do that. I hate when characters are not voiced by the same people. It drives me insane. Whether it's in video games or movie series or TV series, it always drives me nuts when that happens.
But you're okay with James Bond being played by 5 or 6
Look,
or
that's
20
different,
different
okay?
people? Oh,
He's a
okay.
Time Lord.
I
That's
was
the
just-
difference
see?
there.
See?
I'm just clarifying.
He is 100% a Time Lord in the James Bond series. There's a big difference there.
But I mean, consider that James Bond at this point, considering the first movie came out in 1962, it's a very old series now. It wouldn't make any sense if Sean Connery was still playing James Bond. So,
Yeah.
Sure, it would.
or George Lazenby, or Roger Moore, or Timothy Dalton, or Pierce Brosnan, or Daniel Craig. Actually, stop.
I guess the difference there, though, I will say, is like, at least with that, they're not hiding the fact that it's definitely a new actor. Like,
Right? Yeah.
and all the other people around Bond are also different, even though they hold the same things. Like, that's one thing. In Mass Effect 3, like, Morden Solus is, hey, everybody, look, it's Morden Solus, the Solarian you know and love. And he's like, aha. And it's like, wait a minute, you're not Morden. Of course I am. Fuck you. But no, it's not. I'm making a bigger deal than it is of it. But it's still kind of. It took me out a little bit in Mass Effect 3 during his stuff, which is obviously a big tearjerker that we'll talk about, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, Morden's the first Solarian, or the only Solarian you get, as a squad mate in the series.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
And-
Right.
unless we're counting the other one,
The what?
Andromeda.
Uh,
Andromeda, even then, not a like squad mate, right?
I know it sucks.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's fascinating, right? Like he's this calculating, quick-witted, just talking a million or mile a minute kind of crazy boy that like you just gotta love after a while. And like the first time you meet him too, I'm just trying to remember back, like when you're meeting him on Omega, and like he is simultaneously trying to like diagnose a patient and also like shooting someone with a pistol. And,
yeah,
like,
he's great.
it's like, oh my god, who is this fella, huh? This mad scientist that we're bringing on board. He's just so good.
Yep. And I think it's his mission there to just recruit him, where you go and you have to turn the fans back on, and that room is just an absolute nightmare on insanity.
Yeah,
Gameplay
no
wise,
kidding.
he's not fun recruiting.
But I do like Morden. I like Morden a lot. I like slowly getting his backstory, because he was one of the people that like worked on the whole Genophage stuff, and that matters.
It
And-
definitely matters, especially with regards to his loyalty mission.
Yeah, and like you get to understand his regrets, and
Totally.
it's so good, because you get to see all this character development, and he's crazy scientist opened up a clinic in the disease-ridden poor part of town, and you're like, well, that's strange, I wonder why he did that, and then you find out, and it all comes together. And but of course, the one thing everybody remembers Morden for is his song, of course. because it kind of comes out of nowhere, and if you just hold the dialogue wheel open, he'll just go.
Yeah, the awkward cough at the end is the
awkward
best part
cough.
because he sings like an entire segment of Gilbert and Sullivan, and then all of a sudden it's just silence again. He's like,
I wish you had the option to clap.
That would be amazing. But this shepherd's just standing there, staring at him, just staring him down.
I'll let you get back to work.
I should go.
I should go.
Yeah, I should go.
Oh, that was so good. I should go.
But as that and no matter who you romance in Mass Effect 2, he has a little conversation with you about what's going on there too, because he's a nosy Nelly who wants to learn about all the things that are going on that ship. Especially if you decide to romance Garrus.
Yeah, about that.
That's a legendary scene right there. Just please don't ingest.
Because humans and Turians are different DNA types and stuff, so they're allergic to each other technically.
Like anaphylactic shock kind of allergic.
Sometimes, I guess there's a gradient similar to people with regular allergies. You can be more or less, but it's like, I don't know. They never actually say if Shepard is.
Whether or not Shepard ingests.
Or
is allergic.
I know they definitely kind of say that kind of. I would imagine, considering there's like multiple sex scenes, but they never like go into, is Shepard actually allergic to Turians?
It's true. It's true. They don't hit out upon it too much. So
they also don't talk about whether or not Tali is allergic to Shepard. So
well, Tali's allergic to everything.
Touche.
Which is also a conversation I believe you have with Morden, right?
Yep.
Of like, hey, I get you're probably gonna you two are gonna go somewhere, so like, here's how to have safe out of suit times, please. Be good.
Like, yes, Morton, how do we have good out of suit time? And he's like, take a camera and let me come hang out. It's like, Morton, please. This is our private time. Yeah, I don't think you can romance Morden, can you?
No, unfortunately. You can hit on him, for sure.
You can flirt a little bit, and I think he likes it, but he's like, nah, it's not really my game, man.
Which makes sense, because Solarians don't really have that kind of thing going with them. They don't have romantic attraction in that way.
Yeah.
I think the only time that actually comes up is are they like a bunch of workers on the Citadel like watching an Asari dancing? And he's like, why? They're like, it's a bachelor party. Yeah, you gotta get. It's like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, this is not what this is not me. I don't need this. Solarians don't need this.
And then they also kind of do the whole psychological. Oh, by the way, are you sure this is what Asari actually look like, or is this just what they look like in your mind?
Yeah, that was a throwaway line. That if you like listen, it's like, wait a minute, what? What do you mean you all see this Asari as something different? It's like, oh, okay, all right.
They're all secretly like slugs or something.
Oh God!
They turn into like that one species from like Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Speaking their poetry and such.
It reminds me of a really old William Shatner episode of Star Trek. I think there was an episode like that where there was a bunch of people and they all are hanging out and getting to know them. And it turns out they're all slug people. It's like, But yeah, while you're on Omega recruiting Morden, there's another character you can recruit there called Archangel, which Archangel is Garrus again.
Which was, by the way, I had not have that spoiled for me going into Mass Effect 2, and like I had no clue who it was until I got close. And
Same.
I
was like,
Me too. Yeah.
Me too.
That moment made Garrus so much better for me, just
Totally.
because of the way he acted in that.
100%.
So
it was
good,
like,
so
you
badass.
son of a bitch, welcome back.
Yeah.
It's also in a situation where Shepard's in a really rough situation, right? She's got these two people she doesn't know going with her. She's recruiting people on this crazy station. She's got this impossible mission to do, and then she sees her best friend.
Literally the first
That's
friendly face. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. I cried.
it was really good.
I didn't cry at that moment, but I definitely did tear up a little bit because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm home again.
And then you fight a shitload of people with
Yes, you
Garrus
do.
at your side, and it's so good and hard.
It's a fight.
Yeah,
It's super satisfying
hard.
though too, because it's like you're proving how much of a badass the two of you are together.
And then he gets those sexy scars from
Yeah.
getting
Yes,
his
he
face
does.
blown off. Woo!
I
Yep.
was so upset. I'm like, you're gonna give him back to me, and then you're gonna take him away in the same moment. How can you do this to me?
Yeah, it was. Oh, but it was so good though. It was loved it. Garrus's loyalty mission. I don't think I like it as much as most people do. I do still like it, but can't remember why I don't like it as much. And
It's a whole lot. If I remember correctly, it's a whole lot of nothing kind of related to it until like that very big moment at the end of it, where it's like, you're just kind of fighting dudes because maybe this one guy knows something, whatever, and then like you eventually do get to the big choice that you have to make with him. That's how I remember it, at least, is like it felt like the whole rest of it was completely unnecessary, and then all of a sudden you're working with Garrus to find or figure out whether or not you need to kill this guy.
It's kind of like a big morality choice for Garrus.
Oh yeah.
The entire thing. It's like, this is the dude who betrayed him, his squad. This is the guy who's responsible for him being screwed on Omega in that awful situation you find him in. And then you have to decide, are you going to let him kill this guy and basically make himself into a super renegade, or are you going to talk him down because you
Right.
know Garrus isn't really into that? He's just upset.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
what's your choice? And that really shapes how Garrus goes through things moving forward, like even in 3.
And I still actually very much remember that line mostly. I just realized I was like, yeah, I'm going to say it out loud. And I was like, wait a minute, but what? But it's more or less like, I know what to do with black and white. It's like gray. I don't know what to do with gray. And I just like, that line hit me hard of like, his like whole moral structure up to that point had been like, these are criminals, they must be brought down, and that's what I do. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, he had complicated motivations, and like, I don't like that. I don't like
Yep.
that I had to think about maybe the fact that the people that I try to take down are more than just like, I'm evil, I'm stealing things, I'm I'm killing people because
Yeah, it's big deal stuff, especially since he's raised Turian, so he's got that strict military structure. You do the thing that you need to do, and that's it. And now he has to deal with the fact that the enemy is someone he was a partner with and who betrayed him. And how are you going to come back from that? Where you go forward from that? It's kind of like shucking off the last of the Turian molding from him.
Yeah, because they're kind of two shells of that. With Mass Effect 1, where like Garrus still kind of follows that sort of Turian order and like sense of service and stuff, just his own way, because the paperwork and bureaucracy is too much, and I don't like it, man. And then the second game is like, oh, without the bureaucracy and stuff too, like, oh, you can't shoot first, ask questions never all the time. I don't like this. I don't like this. It's important. It's really important for his growth on that, for sure.
Yeah. And I just wish the first 3/4 of it wasn't so generic, you know?
Oh yeah. And actually I will, again, much as I love Mass Effect 2, I actually don't really like the gameplay that much. Like,
Interesting.
it's fun, but I'm not in Mass Effect for the gameplay, honestly, that much.
That's fair.
I'm not either. I agree with that.
Until ironically Andromeda, but we'll hit that maybe. If we have time.
We'll glance over it a little bit.
Hey.
Yeah.
Bully.
I have opinions, but
I'm sure you do.
So the next one that I think we'll touch on is Grunt.
I love him.
Grunt is great.
Grunt had to work very hard to not be Rex, and like, because he always like, oh yeah, Liara's kind of back, Garrus is back, Talia's coming in, hey, and then oh, Rex has got his, oh, this is just a hi new thing, I guess.
Yeah,
He's adorable.
But he is adorable. He's a new Krogan. He doesn't know how to
He's this
Krogan
little
yet.
baby.
but
You have
to me
help him
that's cool.
Krogan.
That's so
No,
cool.
it's super cool. Absolutely.
Also, I love his design. His whole model. It's so different from regular Krogans because he's new and he's this. I don't know. They never really go into depth about whether or not it's because he's a youngster or if it's because he's just a new version of Krogan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it.
To me, it was always like, you know, I think Krogan are literally shaped by their environment as they grow up from being small. Like, whereas Grunt just never had that. His environment growing up was a tube.
Yeah.
And like, as a result, he's kind of this very svelte, very like streamlined Krogan compared to the crusty ones out there.
Yep. And his introductory
he's
scene is
adorable.
amazing.
Adorable.
When he comes out of that tank and he pushes you up against the wall and he's asking you questions and everything, and you're like, hey, calm down, we can work on this together. And then Grunt looks down and you've got a pistol up to his gut. It's just, oh, Shepard, yes.
FYI, Finn has been making that laugh ever since we started doing this all day.
It's great.
Because-
I love that laugh.
Because he's never played the series, but he's watched me play bits of it, and
Yeah.
Grunt, every time Grunt laughs, he mimics him, so it's like...
It's great.
Amazing.
But like, yeah, but even his introduction there is really fun because technically you never had to take him out of that tank if you don't wanna.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like he could sit on your ship in that tank and you, because the first time I played, I remember very distinctly, I wasn't sure if I was gonna let that boy out of the tank. I was like, he's kind of scary. I don't know what's gonna happen if I do. We're inside my very fragile ship. I guess I literally saved beforehand. Like I wasn't sure if it was gonna be a good decision. And when his first instinct is to tackle you and throw you against the wall, it was like, I think I made a mistake.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
It was at this moment that he knew.
He
Yeah.
fucked up.
Fucked up.
I don't know. I opened up his tank as soon as I could. I was so excited to see him. He's
Yep.
so cute.
He is fun.
And I just love his reactions to literally everything in the game because he's just no nonsense, kill everything, and then
Yeah.
later kill everything because I want to, not because I have to.
Yeah. Like that his loyalty mission where he's like, I'm angry and I don't know why. And it's like, we should take you to go see some Krogans. And
We need to give you a reason why to be angry now.
Yeah. And it's good though. Like it gives him not just character development based on what you didn't know before, but like it's a different kind of character development. And
it's also
it's so cool.
It's also fun because you don't get a lot of that kind of shamanic, like cultural design
Yeah,
of Krogan
yeah.
very much until that point.
yeah.
You just kind of get like they're really mean and they blew each other up and then now they're all genophage, so nobody cares. They're just all like mercenaries, whatever.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's a history here. There's like a culture. There's like coping mechanisms on how they deal with the sort of instincts that they have of just like tear, rip, bang kind of thing.
Yeah. It's very fascinating to get to see that depth.
Totally.
But not just because you're being told about it, but because you get to see it and experience it. And it's not shoved down your throat. And I love it when it's organic like that. When it's shoved down your throat, it's not as appetizing, so to speak.
Well, and also his loyalty mission of taking down one of the giant freak bugs that you were terrified of in Mass Effect 1.
Pressure Maws.
Ugh.
We're out. We're not inside the Mako right now. Oh
On
god.
foot.
Oh god.
And they're way big in person like
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And listening to Grunt giggle happily while you're shooting rockets at this big, huge, super alien monster is super fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you know, something Gyarados said, Grunt wasn't even the most dangerous character you could recruit in Mass Effect 2. Yeah, so speaking of Jack.
I love
Jack.
her too.
Good old Jack.
She's basically my spirit animal.
Yeah,
More tattoos.
I mentioned it earlier that the voice actress for Jack was in Knights of the Old Republic, although I can't remember what character. But just another interesting, just little haha correlation. Jack is really cool. I feel like Jack is another one of those characters that if you don't do their loyalty mission, they're not nearly as good.
No.
Oh,
because
definitely not.
She does not want to let you in. No, sir.
Nope.
You have to
She's
work with Jack.
She's just super, super murdery all the time until you do the loyalty mission, and then you understand why. And it is dark, 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 dark.
And she very much depends on Shepard the rest of that time, and it's a very interesting, like the first kind of healthy relationship she has, and it's adorable. Unless, of course, you decide to just have sex with her and then not deal anything more. And it's like, oh,
Yeah, and then you just ruin that whole thing.
oh, Jack, no.
Yep.
And then because of the consequences of stuff involved with their loyalty missions, Miranda and Jack, if you don't get them both loyal and you don't have a high enough paraground to renegade, they'll fight each other and you'll lose the loyalty of one of them if you side.
And that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And that happens with more than one character set.
It's super stressful.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy those like fights and things, but I still have this nagging thing of like, should I fully am happy about decisions having consequences in games and like having all that play out, and like, you know, you can either talk your way out of something or maybe you say the wrong thing and everything falls apart. I'm still not always a fan of like, well, you didn't kick that guy off a building and now these two are going to hate each other for life because you didn't kick enough. And it's like, do I really though? Like, was that significant enough of a thing?
At the same time, though, I think of them, I think they have pretty good reasoning, though, behind their this is a really big deal arguments.
Oh yeah, the feuds are
For
good.
sure.
I really do like them, and I think it's really important that there's a kind of a time for Shepard to have tact and try to like navigate that complex situation. I just wish it wasn't tied to, well, did you get enough dick points?
Nope.
Did you get enough brownie scout points? No? Oh, well, one of them hates you and will die later.
Yep. And
It's like, all right.
that's actually one of the things I really like about the feuds, is because they don't feel artificial. They feel like, yeah, I see why this is happening. You know, with Jack and Miranda, I mean, they were fighting right out of the gate. They hated each other immediately.
Right.
And Miranda represents Cerberus, so of course Jack just hates her guts anyway. So them eventually fighting, especially after Jack learned the truth about her past, you know, it makes sense. And then with Tali and Legion, which we'll get to, that also made sense. They didn't feel like it was just shoehorned in to be another point of conflict. It felt real, and that's one of the beautiful things about Mass Effect. That Mass Effect does that. Just
And Tali and Legion's fight in particular has even more impact because of stuff later. That's
Yep.
like super big deal,
Yep.
awesome character arc stuff because of that fight and their relationship with each other.
Yep. And if you mess up that feud, it can ruin Mass Effect 3.
Oh yes.
Hard.
Totally.
Which again, another amazing thing that these games are just so blended together so well. Now speaking of Tali, of course she's back in Mass Effect 2.
Come Tali Zorvas Normandy.
Oh yeah. And her loyalty mission brings back that political feel from Mass Effect 1. Which is cool because she's a character from Mass Effect 1. So not only is she bringing back, oh, it's Tali from the first game. It's like, oh yeah, this bullshit. But also,
I love it because the Quarians are there, right?
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
actually get to go to the flotilla, you get
Right?
to like interact with others and find out kind of how their culture works and everything like that. And that was like kind of one of the coolest moments for me in Mass Effect 2 was like finding out how these Quarians work, how they've survived all of the craziness in their like their history and all that. And I think that's been a really, really profound time of like interacting with them for the first time.
and then the game turns into Ace Attorney for 5 minutes, which is pretty cool.
But it's fun though.
Got to collect the evidence, got to have your witnesses. It's great.
And it's worth it to hear Tali go, it's fun watching you yell at people.
Yeah. the mission itself, where you go and you try to like figure out what happened with her dad and all the Geth parts that she sent back and everything, that's also pretty fascinating, with like the different voice clips you find along the way. Kind of heartbreaking too, because
yeah, for sure.
Tali, of course, everything. Following Tali, seeing her sad breaks my heart, but you know.
You also don't fight a ton of Geth in Mass Effect 2, so it's kind of like a callback to that in its own way too.
It's like everything about Tali is a callback. Oh look, we're fighting the Geth. Oh look, there's politics everywhere. Oh look, nice butt. Everything from Mass Effect 1 that you like, just in like a contained loyalty mission. And something about Tali is you meet her early in the game, and she's not like on your team yet, and that's not when you get her. You get to see her when she's not on your team, and she seems a little skeptical of everything, you know?
Which I think, again, I don't begrudge the Willie, or Ash or Caden and everybody else being like, yeah, I don't know, like I got my own thing going on right now, and like, frankly, I'm not quite sure about you because I'm pretty sure I watched you die. Pretty sure, almost certain.
Yeah,
Tali's like, she doesn't not trust Shepard. It's Cerberus that she's against, and I like the fact that despite the fact that she's not entirely sure about you, she's like, you're Shepard, I care about you, I trust you, you're my friend. She doesn't have that military, I have to be suspicious of you, and I love that.
Yeah.
It is a very personal, and that's why she joins you, right? As opposed to Ash, Caden, or Liara for that matter.
Yeah. It goes to show who your true friends are.
Damn it, Liara.
One job.
But I love, like, Tali being romanceable starting in Mass Effect 2 and then going into 3 is, even though I love my boy Garrus as much as I can, especially when I'm when I'm playing Femship, I think that's still my favorite romance, like the whole way through.
Yeah. Speaking of Liara, we do still have an Asari teammate. This
one
time,
of two.
Yeah.
Just saying. Mom. I mean, kinda.
Yeah, Samara, the Asari Justicar. Now, before we go any further with Samara, there's something that I have to say. I know I've mentioned it on stream before, because when I found out, it blew my mind. But for anybody that's here right now that is not aware, those of you that are hip with the times and are aware of the current, I guess, Queen of Pop, Billie Eilish, did you know her mom voices Samara?
I did not know that.
And it's great.
Because she does, and it's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yep. So, you're welcome, chat. That's something that you know now. So, yeah. Billie Eilish's mom voices Samara from Mass Effect 2.
Samara, very fascinating, by the way, because kind of talking again about that kind of Turian military sort of life and like that sort of hierarchy and everything like that. Samara is the first example of that you really meet with the Asari, which is really interesting. Like very rigid, very rules oriented, and like they're following a code
to the extreme.
They're basically samurai, but alien lady.
Yeah,
right.
Alien samurai, perfect.
Also, another like I'm probably just revealing my type of like. romantic interest of like strong women, but like Samara also not romanceable, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you can flirt with her.
You can flirt with her to an excruciating degree, to the point where she's upset about it because she wants to, but she can't follow the code.
It's not only that, though. You find out more later about why she's even more paranoid about actually being in a romantic relationship with someone.
Right. Yeah. Because it hasn't worked out for her very well so far.
Yep.
Right.
Thanks to someone like Morin, the other one you can have.
Yeah, so during Samara's loyalty mission, where she wants you to help her kill her daughter, because her daughter is a...
Oh, this will be good. Let me hear the pronunciation.
What? Yakshi?
Oh, you did it!
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, which are basically, they're Asari, but they're wired a little bit different to where if they have sex with someone, it kills the person that they're having sex with.
Yeah.
So they are a blight on Asari society, and there are 3 in existence, and all 3 of them are Samara's kids. Oh, talk about my tier luck right there.
No, there's more than 3, I thought.
They're a handful, but like all 3 of her kids so far have been them,
Granted.
and two of which are hanging out in a monastery.
Yeah, so that way they can't hurt anybody.
that also ties in the big stigma from Mass Effect 1 that Liara has, that people in their society have against purebred Asari.
Yeah.
Right.
That it's more common for them to make an Ardat Nyakshi if they have a child with one of their own race, and that's why they reproduce with everyone else.
Yeah.
Which we didn't mention, but that is a fascinating kind of like flip of expectation of like with the Asari, that in the Asari culture it is a faux pas to be romantically involved with other Asari. Like once they start meeting other aliens, it is assumed and encouraged that you instead go find someone of another species to improve the DNA line.
Yeah.
I had to like quietly have a seizure because I just read Josh's comment and it's so accurate.
Like a praying mantis having a hoe
Uh-huh.
face.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's true.
Oh my god.
But yeah, like 2 of the 3 kids are in a monastery living out their days in peace so they don't accidentally hurt anybody. The other one went on to be a serial killer with the use
Yeah.
of sex. So you have
Cool
to kill her.
times.
But guess what? In a cruel twist of fate, in a renegade option, Morinth is like, hey, you know, I'm just as good as my mom, so maybe you could just help me kill my mom and I can take her place. Nobody will ever know. And you can
I'll
say
just pretend to be
yes.
Samara.
Yeah, and you can just say yes, and you'll kill Samara, I think, and
Yes.
and you'll take
you do.
Morinth back to your ship. And if you talk to Morinth, she'll be like, "Hey, you're pretty beefy, dude. I bet you can survive sex with me."
Yeah.
And you
hey,
can
I
fuck her.
promise you won't die with me.
Yeah.
Even though everybody else died with me.
Yeah, and you could fuck her. And if you do, critical mission failure,
And game ends.
and you have to reload your last save. It's amazing. I don't usually take that option, but I did once just to see what would happen, and was not disappointed.
I was always too big of a fan of Samara. Even when I was doing a Renegade run, I
Yeah.
liked Samara too much.
Yeah, Samara's
Agreed,
great.
I'm
I
the
like
same.
Samara.
Samara's such a great character.
Yeah, Samara's great. Speaking of great characters, another one of my absolute favorites, Thane.
Yay!
Thane, sure, yeah.
Thane is amazing. I love Thane.
Thane's wonderful.
I can't really tell you why, but like, there's just something about Thane that I really, really like.
I
He's-
never really bought into him too much, but I appreciate why people love him so much.
He's
like
so
he's
badass.
he's great. Like
He's like,
His voice.
he's an assassin ninja version of Rex. What's not to like?
the voice is fun to listen
Oh,
to.
yes.
He's got like the calm assassin kind of vibe about him.
He's
got
also a new alien.
It's true. Yeah, you don't get to
'cause
see
we
the
hadn't
drill
seen
up to
any of
that
those.
point.
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
Nah, he's
also
super cool.
Yeah.
Exceedingly tragic, however.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
And-
mean that's part of it. That's part of the draw, right? Like
Ah,
Mm,
for people on romance things, like, oh, he's not long for this world. I can make his last moments beautiful.
or on the flip side of that, oh good, I don't have to get married.
Oh, oh, so you don't mind this being casual then, huh? How many more years is that? Is that on that whole drying out thing?
Yeah, and the way he describes his disease is just like, oh god.
Caprals, yeah.
Yeah, Keppel
Mm.
syndrome. Yeah, where he
Not drying out; it's the other way around, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
he's liquefying.
Because they live on a desert planet and they hang out with the Hanar, who are not desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were rescued since their planet was overpopulated, and a vast majority of them are now with the Hanar helping them out since they were saved
Yeah.
by them. And so, because of the moisture in the air, it's slowly making their lungs deteriorate. They just
Yep.
can't handle it.
Yep, and then they just suffocate. Ugh.
Yep.
What a way to go. And yet, with his loyalty mission, he just wants his son to have a normal life and not have to be a killer. And again, more character development, which is great.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
Yeah. Thane, just so good. And then, of course, we have Legion, which is another one of my favorite characters.
I mean, Legion is
love
fascinating.
Oh, he's so fascinating because it's Geth, but it's not trying to kill you. And it talks to you. Shepherd
Actual
Commander.
Geth.
Yeah. Proper Geth, not controlled by the Reapers Geth. And you get to figure out that they're smart. And they're cool. And you get
Does
to
that unit have
learn.
a soul?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
very, very good dancers.
Yep, absolutely. No, and it definitely plays into this the more of what Mass Effect does well, which is creating gray for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like in Mass Effect 1 is like, oh, them evil those are them evil robots, gotta blow them up, chop chop chop. To oh, there's a lot, and AI versus synthetic organic, obviously a major theme throughout the entire series all the way up to the very end.
Hmm.
But that was like the kind of the first major, his introduction was the first major kind of play of like, well, maybe not everybody is as right as they think they are on this.
Yeah.
I also just love how he's kind of learning through Shepard. It's super
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
And his loyalty mission is huge, like
Oh,
in terms of
yes.
like the morale, like because again, Mass Effect up to that point still trying to sell this like you're a good one or you're a bad. That mission is the first time where it's like I'm not sure if it's tied to Paragon or Renegade, which one you choose, but like the decision you have to make on that particular loyalty mission, which for those who may not have a chance to play the series, again, if you're listening at this point, this is a lot of spoilers, right?
Yeah.
You come upon this group of Geth that have not been indoctrinated by the Reapers, and they have been. I think it was
Right. That's
and
what it is.
yep. And so you have to decide. You're brought up with a decision. You can either take these or work with these Geth that have been indoctrinated and rewrite them to think what you want them to think. So essentially brainwash them into being your friends or killing them all. And that gave me a lot of like of all the decisions I've made in any game or any section of Mass Effect, that one was one of the hardest decisions I had to make.
Right. Yeah, that's super tough. Do you kill them all or do you ruin who they are?
Yeah.
Which is worse?
It's tough. It's a tough call to make. And I think even now it's still like every time I go through that mission, I'm still like, which is the right decision?
Totally.
It's one of those where you don't know what the right decision is, only what you can decide, which even then you don't know if that's the right thing to do. And then Legion,
until
of course,
Mass Effect 3, in which case then there's very obviously one decision you needed to make, and if you didn't make it, everything's ruined.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, oh god. Yeah, and oh my god, Legion's mission is so good. And then like them trying to make the consensus of it. And just watching how the Geth operate too, like how they tried to decide what was the right option to do.
Totally.
I just so like watching Tally and Legion's development of a friendship throughout the entire thing too.
Yeah.
And listening to her try to console him and realizing, oh geez, this is awful.
And I don't remember if it was Mass Effect 2 or 3. Where you go like inside the Geth hive mind. It's 3. That whole entire thing is so good.
And you explore like the first time Geth became aware and like how the Quarians responded to it.
Yeah.
And why everything got as bad as it did.
Yep.
It's real good.
It's
yeah, it's phenomenal. It's so well done. But yeah, there's also 2 other characters. I'm not going to go super into them, but the DLC characters, Kasumi and Zaid.
Zaid Masani, who I only, unfortunately, did not survive, I think, long after Mass Effect 3, rest in peace. But I also remember him as the shark drill sergeant from SpongeBob who teaches him how to drive. Those are the 2 roles that I know of Zaid Masani's voice actor. So I always remember that character back of like, very good, of both like, a bounty hunter running around the galaxy killing things, and also a mean old nasty shark who teaches SpongeBob how to drive.
You just swap the voice lines. So SpongeBob's like, I'm ready. And he's like, you want to be a goddamn hero? Oh, okay.
Right. Just one hell of an anesthetic.
Yep.
His voice actor is so good, though. Like, I love the attitude.
The gruff on that voice.
Good stuff.
Could sand a chair with it.
So good. And then Kasumi, like, I love Kasumi. Kasumi's great.
Kasumi's great
Her,
too.
her
She's
entire
fun
mission
and
is
she's goofy.
Yep.
I do, yeah. I think her mission probably more. I actually like her mission. I think more than I like the character.
yeah,
The
it's
mission
really
is
good.
really fun though.
Yeah.
And then the
I like how she creeps on Jacob the entire game.
yeah, that fight though against the gunship at the end. Whew,
Yeah, it's a heck of a thing.
Yeah.
that can be pretty rough if you're on a higher difficulty.
There
But,
are lower difficulties.
There are lower difficulties. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, normal. Psh, who plays on normal? Psh.
I just want to charge at things, and sometimes charging at things is hard on the highest difficulties,
Charge and Nova are so fun together.
which we'll talk about, I'm sure, in Andromeda, because that's what I've been playing lately.
I know, it's so good.
So
But, yeah.
the next character isn't a party member, but we can't really go on without talking about the Elusive Man.
Elusive
Yeah.
Man.
We touched a little
Martin
bit on
Sheen.
it earlier. Yeah. Which I can't believe that they got the VA for that they did.
It's
Yeah,
pretty,
really.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just really, it really is just Martin Sheen. Like they didn't really like turn him into anything else. It's just him.
No one else could be that role. Period.
Yeah.
It's like, can you just
Except
read this?
Regis Philbin.
That's true.
We discussed this.
That is so
That's
hard
true.
to imagine.
I still want a mod for that. Oh, so bad. I don't know who I have to pay for it, but I want it. But the Elusive Man, like, he's a very complex character in that you don't really know what side he's on.
Also, a guy whose comics are there to read because that's just everything all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, the Elusive Man is the head of Cerberus, and Cerberus is very much a pro-human group, which is already a bit of a blight on his resume, so to speak. But he's like, yeah, well, I mean, we gotta like save the world, Shepard, and that's why I paid $1 billion to bring you back. So you know, let's save the world. But you never trust him because he's the head of Cerberus, and in Mass Effect 1, you came across Cerberus several times, and they were always like just crazy psychopaths that you had to put down. And what I find interesting is rather than introduce a new antagonist or a new pseudo antagonist like the Elusive Man, because you don't really know whose side he's on, you can't really fully trust him. They didn't just make a new faction for that. They took one that was already there, that people that played the original game would already be untrusting of, which I find really, really fascinating. And
I love
really
that
well done.
tie-in.
yeah, really, really good. And
It
of
also
course,
doesn't help that he fucks you throughout the game repetitively.
yeah, it's which gives you all the more reason to be suspicious of him. But you never quite know what his plan is. He's always thinking like 5 steps ahead, and you can never figure out what he's doing.
You mean betray? Sorry. I was like, gaze through me, you triple irised fox.
What? Oh my god.
He is hot. All right. I'm not gonna let that one go. Like
Oh my god.
he's got like a real like man about town kind of vibe around him. All right.
Oh, is this the part where we talk about the fan fiction in which you have the option to save him by seducing him in Mass Effect 3?
Oh my
Woo!
god.
I had no idea about that. But
Reapers aren't going to be the only thing that dominates you tonight, the Lucid
Oh
Man.
my god.
Whew.
I don't know. You see him up in that big empty office with the sun exploding the whole time. He's got a drink a cigar ready to go, and it's like, oh man, all right.
And then he leaves you for Kai Lang.
Yeah,
Aw.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cradle robber, that Elusive Man.
Yeah. That's where all that like the backstory there was the comics, right? With with Ninja Sword
Mhm.
Dude with the sickest renegade option ever.
The asshole that I hate.
Ugh.
Who gets beat by a box of cereal in the novels? The novels are required canon. Kyle Lang gets defeated by cereal.
I'm telling you that the whole renegade option there at the end of that fight is worth it no matter what playthrough you're doing.
Is
Yes.
Oh.
Anyway, that's 3.
Yeah, we're almost to 3.
I will say I probably have about like 20 minutes here,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
we're gonna blaze through because we've already talked about almost everything I want to talk about in 3.
The important thing is we talked about the characters, and like the
Right.
characters are the biggest part of Mass Effect, in my opinion, and that's good. So
I feel
I'm
like a
happy
lot
with
of the new ones that are introduced in 3 aren't as good, with the exception of Edie, as a party
Edie's
member.
awesome.
Edie was introduced in 2, of course, which I loved Edie in 2. But she
Edie's
doesn't become
great.
like a proper playable, or well, not playable, but party member in 3, and she's great, and she's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, Joker has dibs. So yeah, exactly.
I mean, give the poor guy a bone. He can't fuck anything.
Well, I
Give-
mean, if I
literally
could give him a
bone. Give him a few bones that will not break, please. Poor Joker.
Yeah.
I know.
But they could not have gotten a better person to voice him. Like,
Yeah, Seth Green's great for it.
oh, it's so good. Joker's one of my favorites, and oh, so good.
Yeah, I was gonna say last thing I think before we move off of Mass Effect 2, though, of course, is the suicide mission, which
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that is that there's so much dread in that. Even if you know what you're doing and like you have planned everything out and you have figured out, you dotted all the T or all the I's, crossed all the T's, you're still pretty nervous because that is a mission where, depending on what you do, literally all like 14 of your party members can die
Permanently.
and they do not come back for 3.
Yeah. And if there's not enough people left, you die too.
First time I did that was when I lost Morden. Like that was the I got everybody survived except Morden.
Morden's the one. He's the easiest to accidentally kill.
Yeah.
The only way to make sure that he doesn't die is to have him escort the crew back.
Yep.
Which you
cannot
only
be-
have the option to do, or what? No, the crew dies if you do anything else after the part where you play as Joker. You have to
Yep.
immediately go, or the crew dies. If you do any
Sorry
other
if you had a
missions,
crush on Kelly.
yeah.
Yeoman Kelly.
She's so creepy.
Kelly,
Oh,
don't you mean
really?
jelly?
I don't know.
It's terrible.
Very touchy-feely kind of therapist. Is the vibe
Oh,
I got
whoa,
from her.
hi, Shepard. I'm gonna stare at you creepily and talk about your feelings forever.
Yeah.
She's horrifying.
The trouble with having a therapist in Mass Effect is that you don't have a place to sit down and like chat for a bit. It's instead, I'm going to stare at you and you're going to stare at me. We're going to talk about our feelings.
Right in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
Now the suicide mission, if you didn't do somebody's loyalty mission, they're probably going to die. Doing their loyalty mission makes it so much more likely that they'll survive. Although there are a few spots where you need to send the right person to do the right job. Like you need to send Tali through the vents.
Yeah, there's like a whole underlying calculus beyond all this.
Yeah, it's insane. When you do the thing where you have to make the barrier to block the bugs, you need to have Samara do it. Miranda's like, I got it. No, don't use Miranda. Use Samara. Samara's
Or
better
Jack.
for it. Or Jack. Jack's also better for it. Basically, anytime Miranda says, "Nah, I got this," just ignore her. She doesn't have this. That's about the gist of the suicide mission. Now, I will also say that the final boss is terrifying.
Oh yeah.
It is a human
Terminator
Reaper.
reject.
Yep, it's a Terminator, human, Reaper thing, and it's terrifying. It looks like something out of the Terminator, and my favorite thing in the world is saving the M920 Kane for that fight and just launching a nuke at its face.
Mm-hmm.
It's so satisfying.
Save all the big guns for that, literally.
Yep, I carry that nuke the whole game, not using it, and then I get there and I'm just like, hey, buddy, boom, and oh, it's so satisfying.
I just
I
posted in
love the
chat, by the
sound.
way. Oh yeah, the sound of his shots on that.
Terrifying.
It's terrifying. I posted in chat, by the way, the chart that you can use to
To survive
determine,
the end.
yeah, to make sure everybody survives the ending. And yeah, just look at that for a second and tell me that like it's not a scary moment to determine whether or not you've won, even if you've played the series before.
It's literally clenched the mission.
Those
Yeah.
of you that that may be watching this on YouTube after the fact that do not have access to the link, I will put it on screen now for you. Oh my god, it's so big it couldn't fit. I gotta like shrink it down.
Yup. Yup.
All right, there, up in the corner. Enjoy that nightmare. That is insane. Throughout the game, you can get like armor upgrades, and depending on if you have a particular upgrade during the approach, you can lose people, which is very fascinating. And then certain decisions in the base, and then oh god, it's not. You can see it there. I'm sure you can find it on the internet if you look hard enough. But it's crazy, and it's
like,
unrealistic to expect you to get that the first time.
Thankfully, the vast majority of it is, hey, are you a completionist in games? Well, then you're fine. You're great.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. Like did you upgrade all the bits on the Normandy? For me, that's the default for video games that I play. Not for everybody, but like, yeah. So it's like that. Those parts were not too big a deal. But like, who do you send on which parts? That part, not so much.
Yep, that was. But it was really good. And one of my favorite musical tracks from the entire trilogy is the suicide mission track that plays when you're giving your speech, because it's dynamic music. And I have a hard on for dynamic music. It's just a fact of life. Because as you go through the speech, the further you get in it, the more instruments it adds to it. It's so good. It's not as good as Devil May Cry 5's final boss as far as dynamic music go, because that is insane, but talk for another day. So I give Mass Effect 2 Essential. It's my favorite, although it's close.
Same.
Yeah, I would say, just because, again, the character study that you do constantly in that game is just worth it more than anything else.
Now, Mass Effect 3, we're going to kind of go quick on this because we are running out of time, but I think gameplay-wise, it's the best. I think it does stuff really, really well.
There's a reason why, like, the multiplayer of Mass Effect 3 lasted longer in people's minds than I think the game itself did.
Yeah, and
it's really fun.
I actually played the multiplayer a couple months ago. I got a couple people together, and it was so much fun. We had a lot of connection issues.
Yeah,
but it was fun. It was really, really fun. What I don't like is how microtransaction-y it was.
Yeah.
I probably spent $300 or $400 on it when the game came out. Yeah, I spent way too much on it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't spend a cent.
It was bad. It was at a period in my life when I had more money than I knew what to do with, because I had gotten some inheritance money. And I was like, fuck it! And yeah. But I tell you what, it taught me what not to do with money when I got to this point in my life. So there's that.
And yet, Magic the Gathering box set.
It's a look, okay? I didn't get to take a lot of trips this year because of the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, so I gotta make up that somehow, okay? God. Also, that's Saturday. Those of you who don't know, we're having a giveaway, and I'm gonna open like $3,000 worth of Magic the Gathering cards on stream, and you guys get to make fun of me while I throw my money away, because I'm gonna open nothing but shit cards, but you guys get to see it live, and we're giving away a box at the end of it, and you can enter that now, so do that. And if you're listening to this podcast when it hits YouTube on Saturday, run and get here, because by the time you got to this point, the podcast would probably already started. So, and if you're catching this not on Saturday, hey, you fucking missed it, so sorry. Hate me for that. So Mass Effect 3, right? I have one big complaint about the game, and that is the war Galaxy at War point system. I like the concept of it a lot. I don't like trying to get the points up, because it ties into the multiplayer, and the multiplayer is really hard to do now because hardly anyone's playing it. So getting it up quickly and efficiently is almost impossible.
I think that's the biggest issue now, is that they tied it so much into the multiplayer that, like, it's just so hard to get. What is it, like the Galaxy like readiness or something, galactic readiness, I think it was.
Yep.
That is like a multiplier for the points that you're otherwise earning,
and it defaults to 50%.
I hope that they kind of turn that off in the remastered edition, so you don't have to worry about that.
So when I replayed Mass Effect 3, well, I think it was like 9 months ago or so, maybe not even that long, I went to the N7 website where they had like the web thing where you could like send your crew out on like 3-hour, 5-hour, and 7-hour missions.
Sure.
And it was tied to your gamer tag, so it would give you credit in game to increase your galactic readiness for doing that, and it still worked.
Wow.
I could not believe it. It still worked. So I did this like thing. I would click it every 7 hours, and it would just crank up my galactic readiness. Where eventually it got it to like 95%, and it was good enough for me to get the ending that I wanted, and that was it.
Neat.
Yeah, because like the idea is that no matter what side quest you're doing, no matter what main mission you're doing, it's all adding to this bar that you're just trying to fill up the whole time. And once the bar gets up to the top, then you're ready. Everything's good. If you only fill it up a certain way, there will be consequences. But yeah, it just it feels weird sometimes having all of the things that you did in the previous two games reduced to numbers.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always necessarily feel very good. But I also understand like sometimes you can't like, well, because you saved the Rachni Queen, all of a sudden as you were about to like get smushed by a Reaper, the Rachni Queen jumps out of rubble and smashes it away and then never seen again. Haha. Like it's a lot easier to just like have all that reduced to just a system that where also that people who just play Mass Effect 3 are completely left out of too.
Right.
For that matter.
Yeah. And that leads us to the big thing about Mass Effect 3 I want to touch on before we talk about Andromeda, because
one last thing real quick though is the fact that there's one major character that is Mass Effect 3 that kind of changes a lot.
Oh
and
yeah.
And is a DLC character, mind you. But it is, of course, I can't remember his name right now. He's a
Javik.
Prothean bud.
Oh,
Javik.
Jarvis, or what? It's like
Javik.
Javik.
Javik,
Jarvis. Jesus. I was close.
Javik's
he's
a
snarky,
big deal, though, right? Because
Yeah.
like
Yep.
it changes a lot about the impressions about the Protheans, which is this like ancient race of technological like utopian society beings that you hear about only through like beautiful musings by Liara and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, they're the Romans.
Yep.
They just
They are
assimilated
exactly that.
culture, and they were actually not so great. And they
Yeah.
also didn't invent the stuff that you use. They just took the stuff that they found from before them.
Yep.
It's a fascinating flip on that too, because like that's a classic sci-fi trope of like, oh well, we're just using the technology of those before us. They are super smart and we aren't, so we're going to use their stuff. What did they figure out that we didn't, and what wiped them out? Who knows?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, they kind of sucked as much as we did. They just didn't have enough time to put it all together at the end.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, it's a massive expectation subverter. Like you wouldn't expect them to be like that at all, and then oh hey it is. And the best part about it is seeing the look on Liara's face
Oh
when
yeah.
her
So
heroes
sad.
are just assholes. Oh,
She's
And
so
then
sad.
watching the kick puppy face every time they have any interactions at all because she wants him to like her so much.
Yep.
He's such a dick.
yep. Fantastic.
Can we please talk about the Protheans? Why,
No.
they're dead. It's like, oh no!
Oh god. I mean you're right though. It's basically every conversation.
And all of his little quips about the other races.
Yeah.
Like Solarians, they used to eat flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knew like all the primitive versions of everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. But the last thing to touch on Mass Effect 3, before I say like 5 words about Andromeda and then end it, is the ending is still to this day one of the most hated things that a lot of people hated.
He was honestly the first time that like the internet was so aghast at something and companies cared about that.
Yeah.
That changes needed to be made, and I think it set a terrible precedent for media at large. Even though I
Yeah.
kind of agreed.
Yeah. When I first saw the ending after I beat the game, I was like, eh. But then they came out with the director's cut. And I know what some people are going to say, oh, all they did was add some still images. I don't care. It gave me what I wanted.
Yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic was like that. People don't bitch about that.
Fallout series, same thing, right?
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
got some little still images at the end of those, and he was like, "Oh yeah, well, all right."
It's everything I
Guess we did
needed.
okay.
So I don't... Oh, I like to point out, I always go for the green ending.
Me too.
I didn't have the green ending as an option the first time I played.
Green is hard to
That
get.
sucks. It's
Yeah.
really hard to get. And you
Oh, yeah.
don't have to do outside content to get it. You just have to do everything else in the game to get it practically.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think that the director's cut, or sorry, the extended cut or whatever they called it, to make them better, I think, for me, it solved the problem, and I don't hate the ending like everybody else does. Now, of
I don't
course...
hate it either.
Yeah,
Same.
yeah. Now, of course, there is the 4th ending where you just turn around and shoot Starchild in the face.
That's
Which-
exciting.
I get
I
it.
love
but
it.
like,
So be it! You die! Oh my god!
I do have a question for you both now that we've gotten to this point.
sure.
What are your opinions of indoctrination theory? if you know what that is.
Oh.
I cannot disentangle it from the nerd hate of like the game, like, and the culture behind where it came from, that
Right.
I cannot entertain it well enough.
Oh,
Like
I see.
it's just like I hear it and I'm like, okay, it's fun to kind of think about like, oh well, secretly this is all just in Shep's head. But like I can't see it on anything else other than, oh, Marauder shields were actual file bias. Meh, meh, meh. It's like I can't do it anymore. I can't entertain that anymore because all I think about is just how angry everybody was at the ending of a video game.
Yeah, I get why it exists, and it's fascinating that it exists. But at my very core, at my soul, I despise it because of what Final Fantasy VIII has as a fan theory. Skull's dead the whole game. Shut the fuck up. He's not dead the whole game. It makes me angry. Ooh!
I just like the spin-off of indoctrination theory that he's still doing everything that the Reapers wanted in the end. Even if he kills them, even if he controls them, even if he decides to go with whatever, that's still them controlling him.
Yeah.
That
Which, man,
kind
that
of
is
seems neat.
that is some nihilistic shit, huh?
Right?
Which-
It's crazy how much into it people get with it too.
Yeah.
But it also ties still into that, like, well, we just got a different color ending, so nothing matters. Nothing matters. Everything sucks. The indoctrination, he just did what they wanted him to do. It's like, oh, please.
Also, the music track that plays once you make your choice. Oh, so good.
Totally.
Oh, love it. But yeah, I like the green ending the most.
I do too, even though it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad because you dissolve. But
Yeah, but it's also happy.
yeah, but Joker and Edie walk out of the ship, and Joker's got like circuits going through his face, and I'm like, that looks pretty dope. Maybe you can fuck your robot girlfriend now.
Yep.
So that's my
Maybe the
that's my
circuits
ending.
make your bones good.
I did this for you, Joker.
Just for you, no one else.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, overall, like Mass Effect 3 was good in that. I think it tied up a lot of good loose ends.
I
You know,
agree.
like ending or solving once and for all the genophage,
Yeah.
and like and the Quarry and Geth conflict,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
major story-
good.
major plot elements that carried throughout the entire series. That like all of a sudden you had to be like on the front line of figuring out where that goes, and that. Those are really important points that I think were really awesome, honestly, and
Yeah.
how they handled them. And just, yeah, the ending, especially at the beginning, wasn't great. And I had a lot of questions going out, and it didn't feel great about all that. But like, it didn't take away from me the resolution of those various points that we hit up to that.
Yeah, to reiterate a point you mentioned earlier, that Mass Effect 3 is super fan servicey.
Like the Citadel DLC, especially.
Yeah, especially that.
I love it so much.
Me too.
I would almost compare it to Metal Gear Solid 4. In the way the game is designed to try to tie up loose ends.
Sure, a lot. Yeah,
And-
it kind of clears up a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
and even that Metal Gear Solid 4 is still a little bit controversial, not as much as Mass Effect 3, but I don't know. I feel like, yeah, the ending did suck at first, but like from the moment the game starts, and you have Anderson being such a badass at the beginning of the game, and then like up to the like point where you storm Earth at the end of the game, the whole game is just a non-stop joyous experience.
To me, like Mass Effect 3 is the end of Mass Effect. It isn't.
Yeah.
It isn't the end of the end that that you're playing at the very end there that I focus on. It is the entirety of the experience up to that point. Because there are emotions I hadn't really felt in a game before in Mass Effect 3. Like, there's a very intentional area where like you fail hard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And like everybody's at their limit. And I remember feeling genuine stress for the first time, like story-based stress in a game that I had never experienced before in a video game before. Like I had bought so much into the world that I took that on, not as like, game's bullshit, I could have won that, and more like I fucked up and there's nothing I can do about it, and people are depending on me, and I don't know.
Yep. The moment you get to like the beam is where the game stops being fun for me, because you move so slow.
Marauder shields.
It's just like you just walk so slow down the corridors once you get into the Citadel, and it drives me insane how slow you move.
Sure.
There's also the fact they edited it because originally you don't know if your teammates are alive. They just liquefy. It's like,
Yeah,
that
and
entire ending is just so stressful.
for such a character based story, like to suddenly not know the fate of your friends, I get it. I felt the same way. It sucked, but like, yeah. And I'm happy about the changes they made, because again, you got to see kind of everybody bouncing out at the end. But like, yeah, the internet ruined the ruined ending of Mass Effect 3 for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
One last thing I will say about that, and then of course Andromeda, DLCs in Mass Effect 3 also very, very, very good.
Yep.
Yes.
Adding the Prothean and then Citadel and just
The Prothean, Citadel, and Omega.
Citadel
Omega,
is
yeah.
just, ugh.
The whole trip with Arya is one of my favorite, like, in extended stories, because it's just like you finally get to you meet the character, and you get a little bit of her in Mass Effect 2, but she's fascinating in 3.
Yes.
I love Arya. She's such a well-designed character too, and I love that they give you time with her.
You go to the bar in the Citadel, and she's just like, "Yep, this is mine now," and everyone's like, "Yep, this is yours now."
One rule: don't fuck with Arya.
Yeah.
Except for Shepard, he's allowed apparently because he can wake up in her lap after getting drunk. It's cute.
Oh, it always baffled me that the club music in Mass Effect 3 came from Need for Speed Carbon. I just want to throw that out
Wait,
there.
really?
What?
Yeah, it's so weird to me.
I mean, you got EA's licensed music deck. You might as well, right?
Yeah, and the way Shep dances in Mass
Yay,
Effect 3,
Shepard
he just
Shuffle.
goes, he just punch in the air.
We can't let go of the series without discussing the Shepard Shuffle.
I was gonna put a GIF behind me of the Shepard Shuffle, and then I didn't, and I should have.
That's really good though. I would say for me, Mass Effect 3, despite everything, is still essential, even more so than Mass Effect 1.
I'd say 2 and 3 essential for me. Yeah.
Eyes, you died for a second.
I know I did.
Oh,
there.
Yes.
I fixed it.
Yeah, Mass Effect 1, Shep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there he goes. I love that they were self-aware enough, too, that they made fun of that, both and 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And they made it just like, it's not the game's fault. It's the fact that Shepard is just bad at dancing.
Just a bad dancer.
Yeah.
You're like,
can't be good at
you're trying to
everything.
like attract Morinth, but you actually just suck at dancing.
That's so
She's
good.
probably just so intrigued by how awful it is.
That was some very interesting dancing.
Look at the confidence that you have to have.
Yeah, true.
It's so good. Now, as far as Andromeda goes.
So I think a little bit of backstory for those who aren't aware. So, the Mass Effect trilogy, the whole idea is that it's Shepard's story and the story of the Milky Way galaxy, and it is self-contained. Like there's effectively nothing that you get from Andromeda that really changes what happens in the original trilogy much at all. The idea of Andromeda is that it's between 2 and 3, so before the galaxy starts to end, a whole bunch of aliens from all the different species ride on a bunch of ships to go to an entirely new galaxy to try to fend for themselves and in a whole new space. And so the beauty of that is that they're literally 600 light years away from the Milky Way galaxy, and so nothing that happens in the Mass Effect trilogy matters in Andromeda. To a point.
Yeah.
There's some like little things, but
Yeah.
overall it's just over there.
Yeah. And here's my very quick and dirty thoughts on Andromeda, because I know we're almost out of time. The combat is fine. It's actually pretty
It's
fucking
so
good.
much fun.
Yeah,
It's
the
super
combat's great.
addicting.
And everybody, go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually, to prep for this, I was like, all right, you know what? I never finished Andromeda, so I'm going to try and go back and finish it. Because I was streaming very much so when Andromeda came out, and I, along with everybody else, streamed it on release. And the level of disinterest from the internet on Andromeda, like 2 weeks in, killed my channel, so I had to stop. And I've never finished it. It's just been sitting on my stack, and I
That
have not
sucks.
touched it.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to, in this quarantine now, just like try to dig through it as best I can. And I'm about like, I think maybe a third to halfway through it right now,
Mm.
which is unfortunate about the same the distance I got the first time that I played it. But God, the combat's fun in that
Yeah.
game.
The
It
combat's
really
amazing.
is.
My issue with Andromeda, and a lot of people will say that the biggest issue is the facial models. I'm gonna be honest.
It's
I
not
don't.
great.
I mean, yeah, they're not good, but like honestly, for me, I don't give a shit.
They fixed them a little bit.
Like,
A little bit. I'm playing it right now, and I mean, not like the last second. I promise I'm paying attention, but like I'm playing it now, and I focus on the subtitles because it's not very good looking in terms of those faces.
yeah, it's not, and
Except
that's
for Jaws.
and
Joe's pretty fun.
I love him.
they don't like. It is an issue, and it does need fixed, of course, but I don't really care that much. My issue with the game is how empty it feels. The combat is so much fun, but like exploring doesn't have that spark to it that it did in the other games.
I have a very hard time with open world games. Like I don't like it when games get converted to open world because what it means to me is that there's just a lot of pretty stuff that I can look at for long periods of time in between the stuff that I actually want to do.
Mm.
And that's the Andromeda did that to me, especially when I was streaming it. And I'm not very good at streaming games that don't have like content to comment on all the time. It's why I play so many like story heavy games. And so Andromeda for me streaming it was tough because there's just so much downtime where you're just shooting some dudes, then zipping off to go pick up some minerals, then you scan a thing, and then like and it's just rinse and repeat that for hours. And maybe that's really exciting for people, but it's that and Dragon Age Inquisition had the same problem for me of like BioShock deciding we're going to become the Assassin's Creed for EA.
Yep, Ubisoft. Ugh.
I think that's one of the benefits I had over it is that I didn't stream the games. I don't stream video games, so I don't have to worry about entertaining a group of people while I'm playing it, so I can take it at my own pace and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see where a lot of it would be tedious, especially if you're just trying to play through it. But I will say it's still better than Mass Effect 2's scan system.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yes.
Now probing your anus is the best line.
We did. I can't believe we got through talking about Mass Effect 2 without talking about scan. Is the
Really,
3 hours, the 3 hours of scanning that you have to do to pick up all the materials that you need to not have everyone die.
Unless you
Really,
import a
Shepard,
rich file.
Probing Uranus.
True.
Yeah. So those of you who don't know,
Uranus.
if you take your scanner and you go to our solar system and you go to Uranus and you fire a probe at it, which you shouldn't do because the planet's basically been sucked dry of all materials. So there's really no reason for you to do it.
Yeah, you have scanners that tell you whether or not the planet has something, and it has nothing.
Yeah. But if you fire a probe at it anyway, Edie will go, "Really, Commander?" And then if you fire another one, she'll go, "Probing Uranus." She just sounds so annoyed with you when she says it.
Defeated, yeah.
It's so good.
Like, yes, you have confirmed that you are actually a 12-year-old. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
This
Good
is so
job.
funny.
But yeah, I mean, Andromeda's fun because it's nice. It's actually pretty refreshing to get away from like the characters that you know and love so much. I know, like I still wanted Garrus around. I wanted all that, but like it was nice to get away from it and kind of get into a new space.
Yeah.
And I'm still having fun with it, and I'm gonna finish it this time. And I'm going to romance Vetra because she's very nice and I like her a lot. Strong women are my thing.
Yay,
And
female Turians.
also, yeah, female Turians
And female everything.
Yeah, no,
That's
they
new.
really just kind of said, yeah, fuck it, let's just keep everybody in. Female Solarians, female Turians, Krogan, more than like one very important Krogan in Mass Effect 3.
That you can't see because she's covered up.
Yeah. No, it's real fun for all that. And I really feel like it got a bad shake because like it's a pretty good game.
Yeah.
I loved it, honestly.
It's pretty. Like the Frostbite
It's
engine,
pretty.
like it creates a pretty fantastical world.
And Drac is the best grandpa.
Drac is the I think I made a joke that like there's this you get emails from your crewmates all the time in all the games, And in one part, you lose somebody very close to you in Andromeda, and so Drac sends you an email. And the idea is like he's like a 1,000+ year old Krogan, so he's this crotchety old dude. And he sends. Oh, let me see if I can find it real quick. He's like, yeah, it's. I have a picture right here. Veteran told me what happened to your dad. I lost a lot of people over the years. Figured you could use some cheering up, or at least a distraction. This usually helps me. And then it says, Drac has attached 37 images of various rifles and shotguns. Two are duplicate images. Many are low res or watermarked. It's like,
So he literally just went through Getty Images and grabbed whatever he could.
yeah,
That's so good.
and like only grabbed the thumbnails too. He didn't grab like the actual image itself.
The even better thing about that is we don't think there's any kind of like internet or search engines in Andromeda, so he probably had those saved
He
somewhere.
collected them on a drive that he's had for over almost 1,000 years, and they've just been with him the whole way.
So good.
It's like little character moments like that, or like having the movie night together with all your new crewmates and things like that. They really did a good job of selling it, and I just don't think people ever gave it enough credit because they couldn't get past the admittedly very frozen, very kind of lifeless faces that played in there, and that sucked.
And there's a lot of really good things in the game plot too, overall, even beyond the characters. There's like lots of really big development for Ryder. And a lot of people won't get to that point because they can't get over the first parts and the faces and the look, and it's not Shepard.
That didn't bother me. It was just the worlds felt so empty.
Right.
And that's something I'm having to get over right now myself, is just trying to make sure that I'll do everything in that game. I will do it all. Even in preparation for this, I was like, I'm just going to blast through it to get the story done. Nuh-uh. Nope. Still have touched every little task, every little concept that they wanted. I've delivered every ingredient to the guy who runs a bar, who doesn't want to run a bar, but it just kind of happened.
The relationship between him and his bartender are pretty hilarious.
They are great. It's like, this was supposed to be a chemistry lab, and also, how many limes do you want in your drink? Fuck.
I hate my life. No, you don't.
Shadow, I'm sure that as like a basically daily content creator, you would know this quite well. Not every game streams well.
No, it definitely doesn't. It was actually the first game that I did not finish on stream.
Yeah.
I've streamed for 6 years, over 6 years now, almost nightly, and it was the first game that I did not finish because I at the time I think I was getting somewhere around like 20, 30 viewers on average, 40 on a decent day, and 60 if I was playing the right game. And that I was streaming to like 12 people, and I was like, and it sucks because it shouldn't matter, right? Viewer counts don't matter, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if you know that the people that want to watch you play games are not wanting to watch you play this game, it removes an element of that game from your own enjoyment, and that sucks.
Yep.
It sucks that it is that way, but like, when you do commit so much of your life to it, you can't commit to something that nobody wants to watch, and so that's why for 3 years I had never had a chance to finish the game, and I'm hoping to fix that now.
Well, when you do finally finish it, I do hope you enjoy the ending. It is a good game. I just don't think it's a good game for streaming.
Yeah.
No.
And it's kind of a Mass Effect fan fiction.
Which is fine. That's cool. Throwing all the old races, getting some new ones.
I'm just sad they're not working on it being a full trilogy like they had originally planned because of stuff that went down and how badly it did and needed to shelve it.
I have a quiet hope that the reintroduction of the original trilogy will kind of bring Andromeda up as like a cult classic that will eventually like convince EA maybe to give it another swing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I'd like to see more Mass Effect content, no matter what it is.
Just in general, yeah. Certainly. But step one is getting a remaster.
Yes, I'm so ready for it.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's one thing to remaster a game that you could play on like one console before, but like, it is very hard to have the complete Mass Effect experience now.
Yeah.
And they debated me super hard when they were revealing the EA special on Twitch. And they were like, we're going to talk about a game that we're bringing back that's an old favorite. and it wasn't Mass Effect.
Nope.
I was like, no, don't do this to me.
But like to that point, I have a zipped file on this computer that I've had for 4 years of all of the DLC install packs, just in case I could
Wow.
not find them again, because I'm not sure if I could necessarily find them again without just buying them up. I think Origin now you can purchase like the whole set,
Yeah,
which
you
is
can.
which is great, and I'm glad that they did that, because before it was hard.
It's filled with low res gun images.
You're not wrong. Mass Effect was not a pretty game.
Unless you mod it. And even then,
True.
it's still kind of grody.
Yeah.
So for me, I would give Andromeda an optional. I don't think that it's no, but I do think that it has some redeeming factors. Like the combat is really, really fun. So I'm gonna give it an optional myself.
I'm gonna stick with optional as well. I maybe I really like the ending, and I'll go up to like recommended. It will not change your enjoyment of the original trilogy. And again, if given a choice, I would say still go for the trilogy over Andromeda.
Oh, yeah.
But it is a fun game, and there's nothing I enjoy more than you can literally float around in that game and like jump
Yes.
and zip and then charge at somebody and then nova them in the face, shoot them with a laser, like a lightning shotgun, and then zip away before you get hit again.
And the freaking changing between classes, you don't have to pick anymore.
Yeah, they let you just swap all willy-nilly. You can put the points wherever you want.
I love it.
Great.
Well,
Too bad them faces.
I would say recommended because honestly,
okay.
I think it's an enjoyable game. I think it's a
It
game
is.
people should give a chance and they should try to play. And it is super satisfying in the ending. It's just one of those games that if you carry the stigma and the expectation from the first trilogy,
Mhm.
you're probably not going to enjoy as much because that's what you're basing it on. It's not going to have as much as Mass Effect trilogy did. It's
Right.
it's different people that made it.
Right.
You can't give it that kind
Right.
of just that's not fair to it.
Yeah.
But it's a good game. It's fun to play. The fighting's fun. The characters are amazing once you get to some of the stuff with them. It's just probably not a good game to stream.
Yeah, no. And if you're like me and you maybe either gave it a shot early on and then dropped it, or just didn't touch it because it sounded like big old hunk of toxic trash, like at the time, I would definitely suggest going back and giving it a shot, because it has been a lot of fun for me to wander around in it now that I have a little bit more free time.
It's good. Really good. One of these days I hope to go back to it and try it again, but you know,
Do it.
one of these days. We'll see.
Chat,
One of these days.
make it a thing.
Haha.
You have power. Do it.
Funny.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this Mass Effect podcast episode. I'm hoping let me check and see if I got any emails to like get some confirmation on some times, but hopefully there'll be another podcast episode that we're going to do tomorrow, which will be all about Banjo-Kazooie. Should be
Ooh.
pretty good. But I do need to wait until I get confirmation on that. Just got to make sure. But yeah, that's the end of this episode. Thank you again, Shadow, and thank you, Eyes, for hanging out with me for 3 hours and 46 minutes to talk about Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Went about, I don't know, an hour over what I expected, but that tends to happen with these. So
When you said that this was gonna be shorter than your average one, I was like, "There's no
Are you
fucking
sure?
way."
And now I'm even more glad I didn't have to work today.
There are more things I still we didn't even touch upon that
I
we could have been
know.
talking about.
We barely touched on 3, and I think there's more about that going on than the
Yeah.
other ones.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the Blue Rose of Ilium.
That's so sad. Don't talk
It's so
about
sad.
that. Why would you do this?
Oh god. But yeah, I was gonna have Molasses do it, but she beat me to it to put a link in chat for Shadow's channel, my normal people, and anybody new that happened upon the podcast. You should go check out Shadow. He streams all the time. Remind you of somebody?
Every night, and then also sometimes during the day. So that's that. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yep. I mad respect.
including
'Cause-
tonight.
'cause it's rough.
I'm gonna eat some quick Domino's pasta. Yeah, I know. And then I'm going to play some Mario 64 120 star with my fiance Marissa. So it'll be
You
fun.
playing the new version or the old version?
The new version, yeah, because
Nice.
I figured it was a good excuse because I never beat it as a kid, and I wanted to go back and do it.
Well, I hope you have a lot of fun with that.
Thank you.
Because yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun.
It's fun.
Also, eyes reminder: pictures of body pillow.
I'll take a picture of it
so
later.
I'll put it in Discord after we edit it in a terrifying way. And eyes, do you have any social stuff you want to plug for you?
Nope.